Mr. Law, sir, what would you like to be referred to as during this debate?
You can just call me Jamie.
Okay, Jamie. I'm now going to let you know the terms of the debate. We're going to record this live. We're going to distort the voices for everybody's anonymity. Of course, your video is already out there, but we always like to give our opponents the opportunity to remain anonymous. We just want to debate their views. We're not here to we're not personally interested in outing them or attacking them personally, etc. So that's why we distort the voices and we give them we want to make them as comfortable as possible expressing their views without having any kind of internet or social repercussions, etc. So right now we're going to be recording this debate live. The only thing we're going to do is just filter the voices at the end. So any other students that want to remain anonymous, that's fine. But other than that, we're going to leave it as is. Do you consent to be recorded during this debate?
That's very important, and yes, I consent to be recorded for this debate.
I'm so glad we both agree that nothing like a lawyer to come in and set the precedent, the legal precedent in here. Okay. So, do you have any other conditions before we start this debate?
None, just that, may I also?
Yeah, feel free. If you want, I can even send you the raw audio portion of this. I'm recording it off of Audacity, so before we distort it, you could have that file if you'd like. I could just send it to you. It's up to you.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's do it. So, I'm sorry. First of all, I have to apologize that I'm late to the debate because I wanted to actually go over your video again because I know there were some accusations you made against us regarding what we teach here, our version of masculinity. You accused us of being a macho he-man, something to that effect. But I wanted to get as specific as possible, so I wanted to review your video before we actually started the debate. But I didn't even keep track of the time, so that's my fault. I was having too much fun frolicking in the field with dogs, so apologies. So hopefully you have your arguments on hand, in your head, regarding your views or your contentions, your challenges to the Academy, what you feel is wrong with our presentation. You've seen the effects of emasculation. You've seen our presentation. So let's debate that, or if you have something more specific. If you had specific contentions about that video, about our view of masculinity. So we'd like to specifically debate those things, or even the things you saw in the video that you disagreed with. We'd like to debate them.
Yeah, I'm open to debating anything. From what I recall, the only original issue was the nature of government, and is that a part of natural law?
Oh, yeah, we could debate you on that, too. No problem. I disagreed with your explanation completely. I think you have a short video here. I just pulled it up. Do we want to play this so people can have a background? I think it's pretty short, so we can kind of get a synopsis of your view on government. I think it's near the end. Do you want me to play that, or can you just present it right now?
Well, I've made dozens of videos on government, so I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I can certainly
The original video where you responded to the effects of emasculation, and you had an issue with government being a natural versus a social construct, something to that effect.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, I mean, fundamentally, that all ties down to how you define masculinity. And from the point of view that I was taking, and I think probably one that you would take based on your materials, masculinity incorporates self-determination and the ability to have control over your own life and destiny as a man. And I think
I think that's erroneous because that would apply to men and women. I mean, why wouldn't men and women both have free agency? Why would it just be limited to males who are able to determine? Why would that have anything to do with masculinity? Why wouldn't that just be an attribute of anybody, a man or woman? Why would it just be strictly limited to males?
I was just quoting it in for men since it's Manhood Academy, so
right.
Focusing on the male aspect.
Okay.
No, absolutely. And so I don't think that flexes well with the concept of what government is and what government does, which is undermines individual autonomy, self-direction, and individual property rights. And so I don't find that to be part and parcel of natural laws theory. I don't follow it as being a part of, Hobbes' Leviathan.
So you feel your contention is that government is purely a social construct, that there's no government outside of the U.S. federal government, the Brazilian government, the Russian government. Those are all constructs not found in nature.
Yeah, government is a fiction of the mind, and it only exists within human action. Humans enacting things is the only thing that makes government. If you take humans out of the picture, then you don't have government. It's not like if you take humans out, you have trees, or you have sexuality, or you have, energy. It's something that exists only because humans...
Well, that sounds like a good theory. Unfortunately, it's completely false because even in natural law, things like you're dealing with animals, not even people, there is a type of governing structure here. And the problem is it's not even a misnomer. It's just you're misunderstanding the word govern, which means simply to control at the heart. What a government is something, an agency to control something, to control an administration of needs. So when you have a government like the U.S. government, they're trying to control the citizens underneath them that are subject to their authority, people are subject to the U.S. governing authority. They're subject to federal laws, so that the federal government can then in turn meet the needs of the people. That is the whole purpose behind having a government, having somebody. You are forfeiting control. You are forfeiting agency. You're forfeiting your freedom. In return, those people are meeting your needs. Similar to like a parent-child relationship where a child has to obey the parent in order for the parent to provide care, reasonable care for the child. So, for instance, if the child didn't obey the parent and ran in the street whenever it wanted, ate whatever it wanted, the child would develop health problems, would get hit by cars, etc., and the parent wouldn't be able to provide care for the child. So there's a necessary control that needs to be exercised in a government agency in any relationship. So whether it's human relationship or animal relationship, there is some degree of control being exercised so that needs can get met. For instance, stronger animals eat weaker animals in nature, or there's predator and prey. They are controlling the environment because on one hand they're trying to get their needs met. The animals are eating each other because they're hungry, so they're getting their needs met. But this in turn works to form a whole social web of the I don't want to call it the food pyramid, but the chain. What's that thing called in biology where there's a chain?
Do you mind if I step in real quick?
Go ahead.
Everything that you said is a descriptor. It actually hasn't been yet a single proof as to the scientific reasons why government does or does not.
That's a misnomer to call it scientific.
Simply saying positively, I think it does, but you actually haven't argued against my underlying contention that observably, government is a construct of human beings.
Let me step in then.
It's not actually a necessity of anything other than the mind. And
that's wrong. Let me step in because right off the bat you said scientific, as if that's an authority fallacy, because really everybody in this room is a scientist. There's no such thing as a non-scientist. A scientist.
I agree with you.
Okay, then if you agree with me, your description is irrelevant. To call it scientific is irrelevant. It's just whether you're doing a good investigation. It's whether you're doing a good investigation or a bad investigation. Whether you're scientific or not is irrelevant. Everybody is scientific. It just depends on to what degree they are following the quote-unquote scientific method. How credible, how competent they are at investigating.
I'm not disagreeing with you as far as saying everybody's a scientist. I'm disagreeing with you by saying scientific as
but no, when you apply the label scientific proof, no, you're creating authority fallacy. When you apply the label scientific to proof, you're making it seem as if this proof is higher than me telling you a story about my experience. That is scientific proof. If I tell you, hey, I'm in a family, I'm a father, and I have children, I govern them, and I see the effects of government directly, that is scientific proof. According to you, that is not scientific proof. That would be maybe an anecdote. But to mislabel one proof as just an anecdote and another proof as scientific creates an authority fallacy. There's no such thing as scientific proof.
You're actually you're confusing the issues.
No, I'm not confusing the issue. I'm pointing out that you're confusing the issue because you're claiming that some proof.
May I have just a moment?
You're describing. Let me finish my point. You're describing proof as scientific. You're creating an authority fallacy. I am saying there is just proof. Now, there are different types of proof. Maybe this proof is more credible than another proof because it's been researched more, it's been duplicated more often, etc. But there's no such thing as scientific proof. There's just proof.
Well, regardless of that, my point is that you are describing a process. In other words, you sat there and you told me how government operates and how it works, and then made an anecdotal story about comparing it to the family structure. Whereas
was that anecdotal story proof?
The natural order of government, federal, monarchist, dualist, socialist, communist, that exists in nature. It is a product of people.
We know your theory behind it. We know your theory behind it.
It's not observable.
Yes, we know your theory behind it. I am now disputing your claim. I am disputing your claim. Was my anecdotal evidence proof? Yes or no?
Proof of what?
I'm asking you, was it proof? We'll decide what type of proof it was, but I'm asking you right now, was it proof? Did it prove what I was saying regarding my contention about government? Was it proof? Did it qualify as proof?
I'm not really sure. You have to say what the end result is that you're looking for as a proof of something.
I am trying to prove that government existed long before we called it a government, long before you claimed that it was a social construct, an imagination of the mind. I am claiming that government exists regardless of whether you are here or not. There is a governing structure in place.
Certain, text for that or any sort
I am saying the argument at this point. Now I'm providing proof for my argument. Do you consider it proof? When I'm telling you a story about my experience with a governing structure, is that proof? Does that qualify as proof? Does it qualify as proof? Is what I'm trying to find out.
Enough of anecdotal evidence added up could prove something.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm exactly doing right now. I'm providing anecdotal proof as well as rational proof. I'm doing two things.
But your anecdotes aren't proving the underlying point.
Sure they are. If we have enough of them, they will. And if I have enough rational arguments, they will.
Well, I think then we have to distinguish between status quo morale versus ethics and morality. That is,
We'll talk about absolute standards and absolute morality versus community
standards.
standards.
A certain way, does that make it morally right underlying?
I agree with you. There is a community standard which is not moral. It is a self-policing, self-righteous morality. It's a community standard. It shifts. Laws change all the time. Versus the absolute standard, the standard of justice, which people are basing the laws upon, the ideals for which they're seeking. I would say there are two standards here. One is a waffling standard, which is just based on how the community feels at the time, how society votes, the prevailing emotional bent of society, versus the absolute morality, the absolute moral decision that doesn't change regardless of the time period.
Okay, well then, it's seeming to get a little bit more like loosey-goosey, like outside of more of the core issues. So, can I ask you a question?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What does it take to make a right government in your mind? What are the prerequisites?
Two people. That's all you need to have a government. You need at least two people. You need a governor and a governee. Once you have a governor and a governee, you have a government. If you have a mother and a son, or a husband and a wife, you have a government by default. If you have two friends, you have a less intact governing structure, but you still have a government. Anytime you have two people,
who gets to choose who is the ruler?
Who is more functional? I'm sorry, not more functional. Who is less dysfunctional, or ultimately who is functional? The functional one governs.
Just one person's will against another. Might makes right. Is that what you're telling me?
Essentially, in history, might makes right, but that is not a governing. That's not an ideal governing structure. That's a contemporary governing structure. We just talked about this. There's an absolute standard, a governing standard, and then there's a social construct based upon that absolute standard. But regardless, even if you took away the morality of the government, you removed all the federal laws, all the state laws, all the rules in society today, there would still emerge a natural law, and you would see that. Guaranteed.
Oh, I don't deny that people have, what...
Yeah, but that is governing. They are governing people with their behavior. For instance, if I'm stronger than you, and you can't do anything about it, and I beat you up, and I tell you you're going to do what I say, I'm governing you, aren't I? Aren't I controlling you?
Well, you can have my body, but you can't get my obedience.
I can't?
If you can...
I think there's a whole historical precedent of people getting obedience without getting their mind or spirit involved in it. I don't know if you know about the Egyptians or the Jews. I mean, there's a lot of people who got their body into things and they were obeying people they didn't agree with.
Effectively, is that slavery is a moral good? Because
I'm not saying it's a moral good. I just told you there would be a governing structure.
Forcing an unwilling participant who, among two friends, one you say is less dysfunctional.
I agree with you that you're describing an immoral government. I didn't say, we're not talking about the morality of government. We're talking about the structure of government right now. There's two different issues. You're confusing issues.
I'm just taking your example. Two friends.
I know you're taking my example, but you're misapplying my example.
A functional person gets to dictate the will of the other against their will, according to you.
No, that's wrong. You're stipulating that one person is functional. If I was functional, I wouldn't beat you up in the first place. Because by the very virtue of me beating you up, that means I'm dysfunctional. That means my governing structure is dysfunctional. But that still doesn't mean I couldn't govern you. You're confusing the two issues.
Government is absent violence. Then there should be no violence with government.
What do you mean there should be no absence? The problem is you're misapplying terms. No. Okay. Do you consider me? If you give me a wrong answer in class, you tell me 2 + 2 = 5, and I tell you no, that's wrong. It's 4. Am I governing you?
No, you're just talking.
No, I am governing you. I'm controlling you. I'm applying violence, quote, quote, in the sense that I'm applying a disagreement. That is painful to you. That is governing your behavior.
I've never heard that in my entire life.
Of course you haven't heard that. That's why I have to explain it to you. Yes, I'm explaining it to you right now. You don't understand the concept of government. I'm explaining to you how government works. I'm alleviating the confusion you have between your social construct of government and a functional government.
I don't understand what you're saying about government because it flexes between this idea of how it develops. In other words, you're trying to describe a history versus morality.
No, you're confusing the issue. You asked me two different questions. You're not even understanding the question you're asking. You're asking me, no, you don't. You're asking me, is there such an agency, a thing, a concept as natural, a natural concept referred to as government? I said, yes, there is. But now you're asking me a different issue. You're asking me whether the government is moral. There are two different issues. You are not able to separate the two. I am answering your question. I'm not telling you specifically which type of government it is. For instance, I gave you an example. If I bully you, I'm stronger than you, I am governing you. That does not mean my governing is moral. It just means that I'm able to govern you. You're confusing the two issues and saying, aha, because you're governing me in a moral manner, this is therefore a moral construct or something else. I don't even know what your argument is referring to that.
Well, then let me help this along. With government, I find government to be the initiation of force against other people.
How can you govern without force? How can you possibly do that?
Correct. It's the initiation of force. Government is ultimately force, human beings exerting their will onto other human beings through whether it's the threat of force, if you don't do what we say,
human beings, animals,
right,
etc.
Now I'm saying, is that initiation moral?
Yes, let me tell you why. Because in many cases, you don't realize that your behavior undermines the governing structure. Therefore, it undermines people's ability to get their needs met. I'll give you a prime example. I'll simplify the example. The governing structure of a family. If a child misbehaves, it prevents the father or whoever's in charge of that governing structure from meeting the needs of the child. If the child is not listening to the parent, if the child eats candy when they're told to eat vegetables, they are undermining the governing structure. And as a result, the person being governed, the child who is rebelling against the governing structure of the parent, is going to be harmed by that. Therefore, force, pain, suffering, some type of punishment is required to remove the dysfunctional behavior of the child to make it so to bring the child into a functional state, into a functional position where the parent can then again provide care. If you don't remove that dysfunctional behavior, that disorderly behavior by the child, there is no way that government can stay intact. There is no way the needs of either party can be met without force.
Well, two things. One, I'm going to distinguish for the rest of this argument between family and government. So I consider those two issues separate, and
I don't consider them separate at all, so I don't know why you would separate them.
I think there's a huge difference between family biologically and government.
I don't think there's any difference other than the relative. As I already stated, it only takes two people to have a government.
I understand. But I'm just letting you know that's my position. That's where
right, but you haven't proven it. You haven't given any proof for distinguishing the difference between a family government structure and a social government structure. You haven't given me.
Yes, I can. I mean,
I wish you would provide it then. Go ahead.
Okay. First off, here's a foundational question: how many people does it take to force unwilling participants to a social contract? In other words, if you had 10 people on an island, right?
Right.
How many of those would have to be, say something or vote something in order to force?
It's not the number. It's not the exact number. It's the exact amount of pain, suffering, punishment that would be required to stop the dysfunctional behavior from happening.
And who gets to decide who is functional and dysfunctional?
Well, let's say we're all dysfunctional. We're all going to die. The government's going to be gone. So hopefully somebody has a brain. Hopefully somebody has a brain there and can figure out, without a governing structure in place, we're all going to eat each other. We're all going to kill each other. We're all going to waste each other's supplies. We're all going to take resources that should be used for the group so that we could all prosper versus one person prospers and eventually we all die off slowly. So somebody's going to have some foresight, some insight to say, hey, this is a practical way to govern. Your way to govern will kill us all.
Your argument falls flat, though, because it assumes that the most powerful person is also the most...
It's not always the case. You know what? In some cases... No. In some cases, the most powerful person doesn't know how to govern. So let's say the most powerful person there doesn't know how to govern. They govern like Hitler, where the trains run on time, but everybody doesn't happen, everybody dies, okay? And they're the most powerful person on the island, and they enforce their will. Guess what? Everybody's going to die, even though they're the most powerful person. Everybody's going to die because that is a bad governor.
But that's not always true, though. I mean, for many...
It's not always true, but you're using a hypothetical. We're using a hypothetical. If this guy...
History's not on your side.
I'm answering your hypothetical. You're the one who gave me the hypothetical in the first place. You said if this strong guy didn't know what he was doing, and he was in charge, the government would fall apart. I'm agreeing with you. I'm answering your hypothetical. I don't understand why you're disputing the hypothetical that you gave me.
No, I'm adding on to it to also say that historically both good, relatively rulers, peaceful rulers fell, and so did very wicked people. I don't think that
fell. What's fell? They died. Of course, they died. What does that mean? Does that prove that their governing structure was wrong?
Good and bad rulers
because a person dies, does that mean their governing structure is wrong? Does death prove that their governing structure is wrong?
No, but from your angle, that was a subtext because you were saying.
How is that a subtext? One has nothing to do with the other. How does a good ruler in history? How does a good ruler in history have anything to do with your hypothetical example of this strong guy on an island enforcing his irrational, dysfunctional will on other people, unwilling participants? How does it have anything to do with a good ruler?
Of what you're saying, I'm demonstrating by saying that this is a proof text to why government is right. You're saying
a proof text? I'm answering your hypothetical. How is that a proof text of anything? I just answered your hypothetical. That's not a proof text of nothing.
No, I began my hypothetical based on what you were saying. That's it. I mean, there's nothing really more to it.
There's no argument because you gave me a ridiculous hypothetical. I answered your ridiculous hypothetical. Then you went beyond the scope of your own hypothetical and applied it to this argument about rulers in the past, saying that good rulers die or fall. And I said, what does that have to do if a good ruler dies of old age? What does it have to do with your hypothetical? It has nothing to do with your hypothetical. So how you link those two and came out with some kind of mental victory is absurd.
Because it begins with your foundational concept of describing where government comes from in nature. And you say that it comes by a less dysfunctional person rising in power.
How is your strongman, less dysfunctional if he doesn't have a functioning governing view and he kills everybody on the island? How does your hypothetical situation have anything to do with that?
I'm not really sure what you're saying.
Me either. I wish you would be straight with your argument. I wish you would make your argument clear because it's not clear. Can we go to the audience? Can we ask the audience and see if anybody is clear or anybody has some suggestion to clarify the argument? Moderator, do you have a suggestion or can you clarify the argument for us?
I think maybe it's not so clear. Like, what do you mean by government is a mental construct?
Sure.
As opposed to something naturally occurring in nature.
Absolutely, I can answer that very well. Government is very much like, I'm sure that you all have seen The Matrix, right? There isn't something that you can say this is government. You can't say it's a tree. You can't say it's a bird. You can't say it's a star. You know what I mean? Government comes and falls just like there's Russia and it used to be the USSR, based on a construct of people's minds where they agree to label something as a certain type of government. So someone says, today this is going to be USSR and it has all their symbols and emblems, and then people act on that information.
That is silly. That's no different than saying you could call gravity banana, you could call it monkey, you could call it a wall. It doesn't matter what you call it. It still operates the same way because it's a governing principle. Just like government itself is a principle. It doesn't matter if you call government t-shirt, vagina, orange. It doesn't matter what you label it. The principle behind government will still be the same. It is still a natural law. There is still a governing structure in place. Regardless, whenever there's two people in a room, a governing structure is there by default. There are two wills there. Somebody is going to get their will met. That is a government right there.
It doesn't have to come at the expense of another person. My point is that, for example, let me make
the government is not designed to kill both people. The government is designed to ensure that those two people coexist and thrive. That is the whole point of the government.
I'll address that, but first let me just finish that tail end thought. Okay. Trying to think of what's the best way just to summarize it. I mean, ultimately, when it comes to how government operates, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is nothing but describing an existence just like you describe death or violence or murder or rape. It exists. Government exists. I'm not denying that it exists.
You just said it was a construct. It was a figment of our imagination and our mind. Like if we didn't, you claim that if we didn't imagine government, it just wouldn't exist. It would just magically go away. Just like gravity. If we didn't call gravity gravity, or if we didn't discover gravity, gravity would no longer exist. That is your contention. That is bullshit.
I think where you're mixing it up is that instead of dividing spheres between family relationships and government, which involves non-familiar relationships, and
the familiarity between the parties involved is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. There is a governing structure. Whether
historically it has been.
No, it is irrelevant. It's just like the gravity in a tree house is no different than the gravity in outer space. The same principle is operating. It's not a different brand of gravity, just like it's not a different brand of government in your family versus a society, a big society, a federal government. They're both governing structures based on the same governing principles.
Are you familiar with historical texts like the Book of Samuel, 1 Samuel, chapter 8?
I'm familiar with the text, but not specifically what you're going to mention.
Okay. For example, if we divide things even from a historical mindset, whether or not you believe in the mythologies, talking about theocracy versus human governance. We're talking about human beings, non-relational, ruling other human beings. You had an example.
Wait, you were talking about non-relational. What do you say that again?
I'm making a distinction among different types of governances historically through texts that we have about ancient peoples.
Okay, are you saying there's like a democracy and a dictatorship and a monarchy? Is that what you're saying?
I'm simply saying that there's been a historical distinction between families, tribes, and organized, monopolized.
Maybe historically they've made distinctions to show there are different levels of government. Like it's different. There's a different government in a family structure where there's only a mother and 2 children to govern versus I have to govern 1,000 people. Sure. Maybe the carrying out of duties, the administration will be a little different because obviously there's more people to care for. But the governing the concept or the fundamental principle is still there. The fundamental principle of gravity is still there. The fundamental principle, whether it's 2 people or 200 people, it's irrelevant. The governing structure is still there. It's still natural. It's still innate to us.
I would disagree with you because it's
you haven't shown proof of that.
And it's different in form, and it's also different in how the human.
Of course, it's different in form. Governing 2 children versus governing 500 people is different, but the governing principles are still the same. You don't change governing principles, just like you don't change the formula for determining gravity on a planet versus on Earth. Just because it's a different planet doesn't mean we're using a different formula. We're still using the same governing formula, whether we're talking about a family or a federal government. We're still relying on the same concept of government, this exact same concept of government. And you haven't shown otherwise. Show me how it's different.
It's so clearly different.
Show me how. Demonstrate how. Give me examples. Rationalize it. Show me how.
Children are biological products of the DNA of their parents.
Irrelevant.
And it is known that children are not mentally capable of taking care of
There are many people in society who are mentally incapable of taking care of themselves.
I understand.
Most of them are women, but also guys too. There are many people who are mentally incapable of taking care of themselves.
And simply because there are people who are needy and have those needs doesn't mean that those needs need to be met through the initiation of force and violence by commandeering.
Force and violence? Okay, see, there's a problem. That's almost a silly liberal construct. It's almost like saying arresting somebody is violence, or telling somebody they're wrong is violence. That's such a feminist bullshit term. That's a demonization of what force is. For instance, no. Let me give you an example. For instance, if there's a person stealing a cookie, it's violent to slap their hand. We could qualify that as violence. Versus if there's somebody robbing a bank and they're firing guns at me and I need to shoot them, that's also violence. But the emphasis is not on whether they're shooting guns or slapping hands. The emphasis is on how much, quote, quote, violence, force, pain is required to stop the dysfunctional behavior. That's why punishment is there in the first place. It's to stop the dysfunctional behavior. We don't shoot a kid for stealing a cookie, and we don't slap a bank robber on the hand for firing guns at us. The violence has to be proportional to the crime, because the only point of the violence is to stop the crime, is to stop the bad behavior, is to stop the dysfunction from taking place. So it's silly to just automatically lump violence with force as if they're some bad thing and telling somebody not to do something. We tell people not to do things all the time by threat of violence. If you don't stop in your car when a policeman pulls up behind you, it can get to shooting. The cop can eventually shoot you. If you create enough hazards, if you weave in another lane and endanger other people's lives, he should morally shoot you. So to say that it's wrong just to say, oh, violence and force are wrong to get people to comply, your example is so short-sighted and so immoral, it defies logic. I just pointed to you an example of a guy weaving through a lane, caught endangering other people, and yet you think the solution is not to arrest him, not to tell him no, not to enact violence against him, but to let him go on endangering other people's lives under that governing structure.
Well, I'm going to disagree with your mischaracterization of my position, and that's largely the difference between regulating individual transactions within private property. In other words, obviously, nobody wants to have somebody drive dangerously into them or shoot them.
So are those streets are public property or private property? The freeways that we're driving on, those public property or private property?
Well, it's actually government's property.
Okay, so who does it belong? So if I drive on the freeway, am I violating the government's property rights?
No,
am I taking over?
Giving you a license to use
so
it.
It's public property, is what you're trying to say.
That's a very complex issue. Which
It's very complex. Blue, the highways you drive on, are they public property or private property? Can you give me a non-complex answer?
Well, I mean, to make it easy, it's public property. The public can use the highways, go back.
Yeah, I've never heard of a law preventing anybody in the public sector from driving on a highway. So I don't know how they wouldn't be easily classified as public.
It's a very complicated issue.
No, it's complicated for a lawyer, but not for a person exercising common sense. They can tell there's a difference between coming into my house and driving on the freeway. I own the house. It's not for public use. But the highways are owned by taxpayers. We pay taxes to maintain the highways. Therefore, the public can drive on them. Even people who don't pay taxes can drive on them.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm going to keep going back to the original issue and distinguishing why government itself initiates force and violence. And when I say force, I'm saying that people who are peaceful, who are not hurting anybody, who are not, stealing, they're not robbing, they're not raping.
If they're not doing any of those things you just said, why would the government ever need to use force against them?
The government initiates aggression and force.
Why would it ever need to? If those people are peaceful, like you said, they're obeying laws.
The government initiates force through threats, because if you don't give them money for your land to pay property taxes, or if you don't give them money for pretty much anything you can imagine from birth, relating to Social Security, relating to schools.
Well, then your claim is that those people who are peaceful are entitled to everything that the government has. They're entitled to my money because I'm the government. The government doesn't just make money; it makes it from the citizens. The citizens have to give it taxes. So when you say you're entitled to healthcare, you're entitled to this freeway system, and you don't have to pay for anybody, and the government's going to enact force or threats of force if you violate laws, you don't pay your taxes, then that's wrong. Your position is immoral because you're trying to say that you inherited my money. You are entitled to my money. How are you ever entitled to a freeway if you don't pay for it? How are you ever entitled to a cop car protecting you if you didn't pay for it? How are you ever entitled to a fire truck if you didn't pay for it? How are you ever entitled to public communication lines, power lines, anything regarding a public service if you didn't pay for it? How are you ever entitled to any of that?
I didn't say that anybody was entitled to anything, actually.
Okay, so what does your argument mean when you say that the government is putting a threat of force on a peaceful person? That makes no sense whatsoever.
Yes.
Clarify that.
I'll put two examples just to make it clear.
Okay.
Something that everybody could probably relate to. Okay.
Okay.
First one, owning property, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have this thing called allodial title. In other words, sovereign right to your own property. If you paid for your house, you bought it fair and square, not stolen. The bounds are perfect.
Are we counting the Indians we originally stole the land from?
Yeah, I mean that goes back quite a bit.
Right, but we took the land from them. We took the land from them, so now we're habitating their land. We stole the land, so now we have the land. Okay.
There has been stolen lands throughout all of history.
Right, so we're really dealing in stolen property here, right? So we bought a piece of land out of the back of somebody's van, right?
Yeah, well, yes. I mean that's another issue that I could talk all
It's
day
part
about.
of this issue, but let's go ahead.
But sure, I'm talking about the present. So if you own that property, it's in your name, all good. You still have to pay taxes on that property.
Okay.
And those
better than the Indians who don't even get their property; they just get a bullet to the head. But right, okay.
I agree. The Trail of Teals is a very terrible tragedy.
Right.
So, if you don't pay those, then either the government's going to put a lien on your house, it gets foreclosed and sold. They come and take it, which means you don't actually own it.
Right.
You're not the master of your property.
Right.
Or they might come and forcibly try to take you out of there. If you stay, using, as you said, potentially serious injury up to leading to death.
Right.
Resist.
Okay.
Now that is a form of feudalism and slavery.
No, it's not because by buying that property, you are buying into the community. You are also buying a chunk of the community. You are using the community resources.
What was stolen originally.
Right. So you're dealing in stolen property, and now you're using the resources surrounding that stolen property. You're getting water, electricity, freeways, roads, protection, government services, the fire department, access to the community. You're getting all these things, all these benefits that you wouldn't get if you had to build your own house out in the wilderness or build your own community, build your own stores, develop your own agricultural system, transport your own food, build your own plumbing, etc. to get to that house. You'd have to do all that yourself, and you have no ability to do that all yourself. That's why you make an agreement with the people who you're buying the land from to get those services in return for paying taxes.
No, you're confusing private services.
Oh, those are all private services. That road you drive on is a private service. You had nothing. That road was just magically there.
Don't be confused. I'm not talking.
I'm not confused. I think you're confused. I'm saying, there's a lot of private services right when you walk outside your house.
I'm not denying that there are a lot of what you coin as public services.
I would coin them as public because they are public. I don't know why you wouldn't coin them as public.
Because if you understood,
I could go outside right now and get a drink from my neighbor's hose because there is a public water system built out there.
You don't have true ownership in the traditional sense of property rights. But that being said, the point.
I guess the Indians didn't have true ownership either. I guess nobody has true ownership. What's that have to do with anything?
Not under government. Yes, you're right. Not under government. But
not under government?
No, not under government. Nobody has true ownership. The government always.
So whoever's here owns nothing. Well, you know what? In an absolute sense, there is no ownership because when I die, I still don't own the property. It just goes to somebody else. So there's no such thing as ownership.
I mean, we can talk about the essential parts of these things, but that's not the point.
That is the point. That is the point. You keep trying to compartmentalize points to follow your delusional logic here. No, you have to see the whole big picture. You have to see every point in context, not just compartmentalize each point as if they're separate universes. That's the problem with your logic.
Yeah, there are distinctions among things.
But the distinctions work within the context of an entire system. You don't have a house floating out in a vacuum. It isn't a community. It is already by default involved with other. You're already a vested interest in all kinds of other contexts, concepts, issues, etc. What's that?
Are you a collectivist? I wasn't sure. Are you a collectivist?
What do you mean a collectivist?
Well, in other words, where your will is subjugated to everybody else's, you don't actually have individual determination over your life and property. Are you really just a collectivist? I thought you weren't.
What individual will? I have an individual will. Doesn't everybody have a will? Doesn't everybody have a will to do whatever they want? Doesn't everybody have a will to do whatever they want?
Well, people can will to do things.
Right. So isn't that a silly contention to say that we don't have a will? Obviously, we have a will. Your contention is whether our will is being influenced by force.
Well, my moral problem, is that government, through its bad past acts, through other men that I had nothing to do with, stole from people and threatened my ancestors with jail or death if they didn't give them money. And I can't help the fact that we were born into this. None of us can help that fact.
So then you shouldn't be taking advantage of government services. You shouldn't be taking advantage of education, of where you live. You should give all the property back and just live on an island somewhere eating berries.
No, I disagree. No. You should absolutely take as many of those resources as possible because they were stolen.
So we have a duty to steal them back? So you're like Robin Hood. You're developing your own self-righteous morality. You're Robin Hood.
Well, it's not self-righteous because...
So I should, because you stole property from me, I should just come in your house right now with a gun and take whatever I can for the sake of my dead ancestors. For my sake of my dead ancestors. What if I live on a reservation? I'm an Indian. I should just break into your house and steal all your property?
No.
You owe it to me. No, you owe it to me. You stole it from my ancestors. I'm owed it. I'm entitled to it.
No, I mean, I agree with you that there are a lot of serious problems.
Well, you're the one who's against the government, so if you're against the government, why can't I take my ancestors' property back?
Well, I mean, if it was very traceable, certainly. But the problem
Certainly? What do you mean? I'm pretty sure we all agree that America belonged to Indians before we got here.
Yeah, I mean, for a good amount, a lot of them died out. But, no, that's another issue that needs to be
Another
resolved.
issue? No, it's the same issue. We're talking about, you're trying to compartmentalize every issue as if every issue exists in a separate universe and has nothing to do with the other issue. They're all related. They are all related. The principles governing the universe all interact with one another. They're never in conflict. Gravity works with entropy, works with thermodynamics. None of these principles are in conflict. They all work in harmony. There's no separatization. There's no compartmentalization of principles governing the universe. There is not.
Yeah.
Thermodynamics works with gravity. It works with entropy. They all work together.
Those analogies are taking away from what we're talking about.
They're not taking away. They're highlighting how you are trying to compartmentalize things when that's not how it works in nature. That's how it works in your delusional mind. That's how you have these delusional views. That's why under public examination, you can see where your logic breaks down. When you're called to be accountable for each and every view, that's where the logic breaks down. Your views have to be accountable to each other. They have to work in context with each other. They have to work in
There are
context.
distinctions among everything. That's why if I go into your room and you say, "Here, James,"
A distinction.
If I go in your room and I take your jacket.
A distinction of gravity and thermodynamics does not mean that gravity no longer works with thermodynamics. Just because we make distinctions doesn't mean we make conflicts. There are all kinds of distinctions. There are distinctions in every single principle in the universe. That doesn't mean they're in conflict just because we make distinctions about things. You're implying that making a distinction creates a conflict by definition.
I've not yet said anything that creates a conflict. There are
Nothing. Can we go to the audience book? Can we pull the audience? Okay, let's take a break for just 2 seconds and let's hear what the audience has to say. I won't interrupt. You won't interrupt. Let's just hear what the audience has to say about the arguments. I want to hear both good and bad. And whoever speaks, we're going to go around the room. I want you to speak about both everything we've said here today. I want you to speak about both participants in this debate. Go ahead, Blue. Why don't you go around the room and just moderate and ask people's opinion?
All right. Hopefully everyone was listening to the debate. I'll start off with Zenik. I don't know if you were here for the whole thing.
I wasn't here for the whole thing, but I caught a lot of it. So
Just speak on what you heard. Just speak about what you heard.
Reactions to it and what you thought.
Okay, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. I thought it's kind of interesting because this guy, he seems like a thoughtful guy, but at the same time, throughout this whole argument, a lot of it seems like he's arguing with himself. Like, he will say something, and then as Plum explains it, he argues against what he just said, and then Plum gets confused because he's trying to figure out what he's trying to mean, but no one can pull meaning from it, and then we end up going nowhere from it. So it's like, he has trouble being specific and I think Plum has it right on the head, that he has problems with compartmentalizing everything, because it seems like all his views are kind of, they hold together as long as you don't hold them against his other views. That's what it seems like to me so far.
Alright. Let's go with Poser. Hopefully you were listening to the debate.
For most of it, Ryman, do you want to chime in as well? No, okay. I would agree with what Zenik's saying. I mean, this guy seems like a thoughtful guy, but he comes across a little bit of a pseudo-intellectual because I feel he overcomplicates things. Plum is trying to explain it in a simple manner, but I think he's so used to seeing things in complex, compartmentalized viewpoint. At least that's how I feel. It's hard for him to see a simple explanation. It's like, hold on, no. But in this complex world, this is how... And he's not making the connection to Plum's simple examples. I think he's not used to... That's why he's not used to this a simpler way of seeing things. And like Zenik said, that's like... You notice, I was observing, like he made some hypothetical, like, hey, what about in this situation? And then on that, he's like, well, but when then this, he added like another hypothetical to his hypothetical. And it's like when he was cornered, he was like, I felt he was he was a little confused, but then he said, like, he's not just in his own world. He's not listening and seeing Plum's point, and I don't know, he seemed confused.
I'm confused.
Let's hear from. Hey,
Jacob, well, before I go on to anybody else, I just want to say, on behalf of Manhood Academy, we'd like to thank you because you are the only participant who has stayed longer than 3 minutes.
he hasn't rage quit. I give him that already.
Yeah,
he has not rage quit from the debate.
I mean, at least you stayed here, and we want to give you a lot of props for
From the ghetto.
for staying here.
Kudos,
So we want to thank you. And all the chicks that we've argued have gotten angry, have tried to file lawsuits, and so we want
Even the Canadian guy rage quit.
right.
What about Slowho? Let's hear from Slowho.
So,
Shit.
it's like, shit.
Oh shit, man.
I don't really have anything to say. I agree with Zenik.
You little pussy. We want to hear your candid opinion. Give us your candid thoughts.
Come on, man, say something.
Z-Dog and I are of one mind.
Shut up, faggot. All right, let's go to somebody else who can actually give a candid opinion without bullshitting us. Moderator, wake up.
Okay. Well, it was very hard to distinguish what Jamie's point actually was because there was no concrete direction. So the argument originally, if I understand you, Jamie, that governance is basically a construct of the mind where it's essentially an agreement between people. And so somehow this agreement is different between families and a larger government structure, let's say the U.S. government.
I would just say that government, as in a collectivization, a monopoly on force, which is other human beings, we're not talking about the family, that is a construct of those people's minds.
Well, right. I think this is where the confusion. So you're saying it's a construct of the minds as if it's separated from a natural governing.
As if we didn't construct it, it wouldn't exist.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Without human beings, you don't have any sort of organized government like you see the federal government or state government or anything like that. Yeah.
Right, that's complete bullshit. But let's hear from other people right now. Go for it. Blue, keep going around the room. Let's hear it.
Okay. The new
I'll
student.
chime in for a second.
Yeah, the new student. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Jamie, basically your argument is that government is a man-made invention, that all its different forms are just an expression of how we artificially construct this governing structure around us. But I think I'd side more with Plum on this one, that it seemed to be more of a natural order, and that all the governments that we see around the world seem like kind of the different forms of the different way they manifest themselves among different societies, depending on what agreement, what needs the people in that society need to have met. And I'm having a hard time, kind of following. I understand on some level what you're saying about it being an artificial creation of man, but at the same time, I don't really follow your logic in how it is. I think you're compartmentalizing. You're using a lot of specific examples, and yet you're not really explaining why it is an artificial construct and not a natural order. That's kind of my opinion.
All right. Thank you. 18. You have your mic muted. Do you have anything to say?
I mean, you kind of said part of it, Blue. Now I understand what your thesis is, but I don't really understand the points that you're trying to make. Like, sometimes it seems like you're agreeing with Plum, and then other times it's like you disagree, but you're not really backing it up. Maybe if you were more specific with your examples, I would be able to understand it better. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to chime in that's different.
All right. And let's see, the last person. Payson! Do you have anything to say before we conclude this debate?
Blue, there's two more people. There's Chewy and there's
there's
Pinata.
Chewy.
And Pinata.
All right, well, let's go to Payson. Payson, are you even available? He has a mic.
Unmute your mic if you can.
Okay. All right, Chewy!
He can't respond. Go to Pinata.
Okay. Pinata.
Pinata, are you there? Over.
yeah, I'm unmuting my mic. I'm sorry. I was really confused since the beginning of the debate because Jamie's arguing that government, and if I'm not mistaken, it's that government is different in different places or something. That's what you guys mean by compartmentalizing. But if you really look at the root of things,
government is the same everywhere. I mean, yeah, sure, the type of government, like as a democracy, being communism, imperialism, yeah, it's different in every other country, but it's still needed. And even if, let's say, for instance, government didn't exist as how we know it today. You have the president, the chain of command, and all that shit. That principle still applies in the animal kingdom. Like, I think about this, and I think about, like, animal packs. There's always an alpha male, okay? Even in prides, such as lions, there's always the alpha male lion. So it's always there. So it's not like you can say that, well, government is different in this place and in this place, because it's still like gravity. Gravity's not different in here than in China, because the principle still applies. Sure, you may add all these variables about how, well, it's different in this way, and it's different in that way, but I mean, let's be honest here. It's really all the same. It's just how they exercise the type of government. But government is still needed. If not, you would have a revolution like what happened in France in the 1900s. And even after that revolution, people still wanted somebody to lead them because they always need somebody to lead them.
Yeah, interesting. You notice that after every upheaval in society, or even people who want anarchy, even the punk anarchists eventually have a governing structure. They come back to a governing structure. They want rules. They want regulations. Even within a so-called anarchist society. So there's really no such thing as this notion of government's in your mind. It's an imaginary construct. Government would be here whether we realize it or not, whether we want it or not. All our societies eventually go towards some type of people building order or trying to create an orderly governing structure. Not by accident, but by that.
Yeah.
That is by virtue of how relationships operate. You couldn't maintain a relationship without a government. You couldn't maintain a family without a property governing structure. That's also why there are so many problems with families today and relationships today. There's no governing structure. You always have under feminism, it's women get to put one hand on the steering wheel, and the man should put the other hand on the steering wheel, and they're both equal. The problem is you can't drive a car with two hands on the steering wheel at the same time. Somebody has to be in charge for a properly governed society to work, for a properly governed relationship to work. Somebody always has to be in charge by necessity. And you see when people aren't in charge, in countries where women and men have equal authority, those relationships end in divorce. Those relationships end in frustration. Those relationships result in single mothers producing criminals in vast numbers. So that's what happens when you move away from a property governing structure where you have a male in charge. Those are the types of societies that experience the trauma of a lack of governing structure.
Jamie, you have the last word.
Wait, we're ending the debate? Why are we ending the debate? I thought we were going to move on to the masculinity issue.
Continue. I mean, this discussion could be...
I'm ready to go. I just took a drink of Gatorade. I'm ready to go. I'm jacked.
But look, I'll give Jamie, in case he has to go, the last word. But if you want to continue, Jamie, you're more than welcome.
Jamie, do you have to go or do you want to continue?
Like, you're a man who kind of like to get to the bottom of things.
Jamie, are you tapping out?
Christmas is coming.
Oh, he's tapping out.
Tapping out.
No, I appreciate actually getting all that feedback from different people because that allows me to kind of capsule summary everything that I was trying to say. And I think maybe some people had missed out on the beginning of what I said. So the short of my belief set, so it's just very clear, is that government defined are groups of human beings that claim themselves to have the ultimate monopoly on force and carry that out through taxation. In other words, they tell people that they have to give them money like the mafia, and if they don't, they will take their property or their children. That is what government does. Any government that is an effective government today has the power of taxation, the power of life and death. The Articles of Confederation did not have that, and that's why they rewrote the Constitution in 1787 so the federal government could have taxation powers because it had no power. So when you see that portion of taxation being the initiation of violence, that's where you see me saying that is a moral wrong, and I don't see that as being natural or in nature. In other words, telling people that I am the authority and I'm going to take your property because I am the authority, and if you don't give me your tribute, then I'm going to come and enact violence against your person by taking you, or your property by taking what you own, what you've worked under Lockean models. You take unowned resource plus labor, and you create private property. Well, isn't that kind of exercised with like Mother Nature too? Like if you don't, like at least let's say for instance, if you don't eat, right? That's like a law that governs your body. If you don't eat, you're gonna die. Well, and I want to distinguish again. That is government. I just define what government is, and I'm distinguishing that between.
Okay, I want to say one thing though. Let me say one thing about that. Are you going forward? Are you going forward with the debate, or are you tapping out of the debate right now? Do you have to leave right now? I want to know that first before we respond.
Jamie, so I told you that I was going to give you the last word, which I'm a man of my word. However, would you like to continue this?
I got a couple extra minutes. Is there something you want to talk about in particular?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about your contention regarding masculinity, our version of, or what we're teaching about masculinity here.
Yeah, let's do it. Sure.
Sweet. Okay, let's hear your contentions about it. Otherwise, we could play 2 minutes of the video, but I'm sure you have something in your head regarding what you disagree with regarding our version of masculinity, which also relates to our our dispute over governing structures.
Sure. Well,
have you had a chance to read it? Wait, let me ask you one question that's maybe related to this. Have you read our ebook yet that talks about what our views on the governing structure and how relationships work, how the males govern females in relationships? Have you read any of that?
Are there a lot of pictures in it?
There are a lot of pictures in it.
Okay, then I probably read it a long time ago when you first.
Oh, you got to read the update. I mean, that's decent, but the updated structure is much better and much more pictures for you.
Good. Okay. So, I mean, I guess I could touch a little bit off that video. Something just stuck out to me that I picked up that is really relevant. I'm not sure who is with the Indian guy with the glasses, the Asian dude.
Oh, that's Slow-Ho. Slow-Ho is with the Indian dude.
Slow-Ho.
Right.
So, for example, you called Slow-Ho a faggot.
I think I called him a slacking faggot.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I think I called him a little bitch faggot.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I don't believe he's just a faggot. I believe he's a little bitch faggot. I want to add that important qualifier on there. Go ahead.
I understand that's all funny jokes and stuff like that, but
no, I seriously believe he's a little bitch faggot. I'm not joking with you. I seriously believe he's a little bitch faggot. Not. Oh, wait. Not literally a faggot. We use faggot here to encapsulate emasculation. It's a slang term, but I could say a little bitch emasculated white knight. But it's kind of wordy, so I cut it down to a little bitch faggot. So same thing. Go ahead.
Got it. So, for example, with those types of terms, demeaning people,
right.
I don't think that is good for guys to do. I think that's very unmasculine, and I think that
I think the truth is demeaning. I think the truth is demeaning to anybody who is too cowardly to face it. For instance, the reason I refer to Slow-Ho as an emasculated faggot or a little bitch faggot is because he is a little bitch. He's a coward. He's unable. I'll give you a perfect example. All these people that want to challenge us online and write arguments against us and tell us we're wrong, we give them the opportunity. We invite them. We challenge them to debate us live like you have right here. And every one of those fucking cowardly faggots runs with their tail tucked between their legs. Why? Because they are cowards at heart. They will only debate you online because they never have to be held accountable for their views when they state their views online. I mean, it's hard enough to be accountable for your own compartmentalized views, your crazy delusional views on government, but nobody can check you. You can't get this instant feedback from other people from the community. You can't get this public scrutiny. You can't get that online, but you can only get it in a live debate or where somebody can have a face-to-face dialogue where they can dispute your ideas.
There's a distinction. When you say online, because we're online right now,
right.
Are you referring to text chat?
Yeah, I'm referring to text, whether it's in person, where they're reading a screen. They don't get to see my disputes real time. They don't get to see my face, my expression, my person. I can't stop their arguments in mid-sentence. I can't address any fallacies they're making while they're making them. So this is all key feedback during a live debate, which you don't get. So we have many cowards who will willingly dispute us online, but when it comes to a live debate, too cowardly to show their face. That just shows they don't even believe what they're saying. That shows they're too cowardly to defend their own views. Slow-Ho is a perfect example of a coward. He has many views he wants to share regarding what you said, regarding what I've said, regarding his worldview, but he's so worried about what other people think of him and what they'll say to him, and he can't handle the confrontation, so he's going to keep those views locked up. It's not that he doesn't have them. It's just that he hasn't learned yet how to manage his expectations, how to manage the relationship between us, so he can't openly state them. He feels like, something's going to happen if I openly state them.
I think your ad hominem attacks are fairly disgusting, and that bringing people down is very unhealthy, demeaning, and I think that...
Well, I could make the same accusation about you. I could label your whole video as an ad hominem attack because it's false. It's ludicrous. It's absurd. But unlike you, I'm not a coward. I can face the truth. I can speak to you openly. I can dialogue about your attacks. I don't even need to refer to them as ad hominem attacks. I just referred to it as your delusional opinion. I entitle you to have your delusional opinion. I'm not going to censor your delusional opinion because I'm not threatened by your delusional opinion. That's the difference between you and me, or you and my opponents, or my opponents will always try to censor me first before debating me. I mean, a rational person would realize that an opponent who they didn't agree with would easily hang themselves. No, I didn't. I invited you to debate me. No, I invited you to debate me. I invited you to debate me. Live. I invited you to the chat room. So to say I'm censoring your views is bullshit because only Manhood Academy would dare give you the opportunity to debate you. I'm still willing to debate you. We can hold a whole series of debates. We can hold a debate series, you and me. If you're so intellectual, if you're so rational and intellectual, and you want to prove that we censor your views, go ahead and keep coming back and debate us. We'll welcome you. I'd love to bury you in the ground. I'd love to embarrass you. Let's do it.
Haven't done it yet.
I haven't done it yet. Listen to the audience. You're so delusional. You haven't even heard the feedback from the audience.
I think there's a difference between ad hominem and saying something backed with reason. For example,
Yes, that's correct.
People would say Saddam Hussein is a monster. And most people would say, yeah, he is a monster. Oh, but we can't say that because that's...
Yeah, but under his delusional...
Therefore, everything you say is bullshit.
Under his delusional professional victim criteria, you could say monster because everybody knows what monster entails or what they're meaning by the term monster, the atrocities, etc. But that's a slang term. It's a cultural idiom. The same when I say Sloho is a little bitch faggot. It's a cultural idiom. It's a slang term. It doesn't mean I literally believe he's homosexual, but somebody like you, a professional victim, can take anything out of context and use it to mean anything to fit it to your personal agenda. That's why you would avoid debates like this. That's why you wouldn't dispute me. That's why you avoid public scrutiny of having your views put under a microscope. We're more than willing to do that. We would never censor you. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that you would even dare to accuse us of censorship. We would never censor your views. We would never think to censor your views because your cowardly views are actually your cowardly views. Your cowardly views are actually what make our views stand out. When we debate your cowardly views out in the open, we verify the authenticity of our views. We enjoy having cowards like you here to debate. It only verifies our views. If our views were truly irrational, your logical arguments and rebuttals would prove that in a debate. And we'd be embarrassed. We could never show our faces. We would have to take down the academy. But because your embarrassing logic doesn't make sense, we welcome your views here. We would never censor your views.
Jamie, is it an ad hominem attack or a logical fallacy if you put a label to someone and then you explain the labeling? You explain your reason behind the label. Is that?
Yeah, the reasons behind the labeling would be the logical critique.
That's what we do. So how are we now exercising ad hominems? You yourself called us stupid in the video. Should I just act like you, like a professional coward, a professional victim, and say, oh, you said I'm stupid, that's an ad hominem? No, because I'm not that ridiculous. I'm not a pseudo-intellectual like you. I know that you believe we're stupid because we're uneducated, we don't see this point of view, etc. I'm willing to debate you on that. I'm not a child like you, worried about ad hominem attacks. Worried about by ad hominem attacks.
It's there.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what?
I said what you wrote today after you blocked me, in other words, censored me from your channel, is underneath my YouTube video, so you guys can go read it. Go ahead.
Okay. Once again, you're a child in your views because you say it's censorship when we're debating you right now live and we're airing your antithetical views, your oppositional views. We're airing them. We're giving voice to your views. So how could that ever qualify as censorship? How?
No, you did originally.
I didn't originally. No, you don't understand. Look, you're an idiot. We explained this before. Look. Yes, you're an idiot. I'm going to prove it right now. YouTube is not a place to debate. It's a place for cowards. You can only make a limited word count. That censors my views. I can't give you an accurate rebuttal with just a 200 character word count. So it's the worst place to debate. I invited you to come to the forum, to come to the chat room, to make a post where I can debate you in full. Here, we even give you more room to debate, to air your views. A YouTube comment? You believe that's a rational place to have a discussion like this? A YouTube comment?
Why you're bloviating on this.
Bloviating? What does this have to do with a bloviating? You're the one who claimed that we're censoring your views. You claim that we're censoring your views.
Nobody's being censored right now.
You weren't being censored then. If you had challenged us and said, I'm going to come to your channel because you censored me off YouTube, you think we'd be cowardly and go, oh, I'm sorry, we can't have your views on here? Is that what you really think?
I missed what you said.
Obviously you missed it. You think that if you say, we're censoring your views on the YouTube channel, and you emailed us or you came on and made a fake account or something and said, hey, I'll debate you anytime, anywhere. I want to have this out with you. You're too cowardly to even air my views. You seriously think we would say, oh, sorry, we can't debate you. We're too scared to have our views known to the public? You seriously think that's what would happen? Are you seriously contending we'd censor your views? You're implying that when you say we censor you.
No, I said you blocked me from your channel.
No shit, I just explained why you can't have a reasonable debate on a YouTube channel through YouTube comments. What are you too dumb to understand about that? How are you too dumb to understand that? How is that censorship if I'm airing your views here and yet I'm blocking you on YouTube? How is it censorship if I'm blocking you on YouTube and allowing you to more accurately air your views here? How is it ever qualifying as censorship? How is that censorship? I would allow you to say all your comments right now.
Deleting my public comments, yeah, that's not.
So you can state your comments. You can state your comments with your full breath and your full reasoning here. That is now censoring you. How does that even work?
You guys listened to it for you go on so many illogical tangents
illogical tangents. So everybody in the audience who disputed you and said you made no sense. Now you're implying that I'm illogical when you heard the audience reaction to your ridiculous delusional views.
I heard the audience reaction.
And so you think the whole audience is wrong and delusional. They weren't paying attention to you. You're smarter than the entire audience.
Your audience are people who subscribe to your information. So
okay, let's hear the accusation. He says that you guys are required to agree with me or I will ban you from the academy and I'll censor your views. But you'll be the first one. Bottles, you've been here the longest. You've been here 5 years. I want to hear your view on his accusation that unless you guys agree with me, and I don't allow the dissenting opinion, you'll get banned or some type of retribution will be enacted against you. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, Bobs. What do you have to respond to that accusation? You just said it. You just said it. You said these are all people. You said these are all people in my camp, and they all are bound to agree with me. Bob, was that true?
Say that. That's a straw man.
What are you saying then?
They're more inclined, if they've sat around this long and still are listening to you, as they find you.
Are they listening to you or me? Because they commented on you. Are they listening to you or me? Are they listening to you or me? Because they commented on you mostly.
I said this audience has a definite bias. Imagine if I said, "Hey, get 15 of my friends."
Bring your friends. Bring your friends. I'd love to meet your delusional friends. I'd love to debate them into the ground too. I would love nothing more than to debate your friends.
Higher education degrees and PhDs. Yeah.
You're proving. If I was in community college and got a 1.4 GPA and I beat a law school grad like you, that means your education is a fucking embarrassment. Do you realize how sad that is? That's a sad commentary on your education. You should get a refund on your education.
What? Why?
If you can't debate me with a law degree, and let's say I'm a homeless dropout, that only speaks more shame to your degree, to your education, than it says anything about my education.
It assumes your premise that you had something that was definitively destroying what I was saying. And anybody who watches everything I've said, at least from an outside bias with some sort of, general listening ear, would hear my clearly articulated points.
Clearly. So you're accusing the audience of being stupid. I want to hear what the audience has to say about these accusations. If you guys are unbiased, you guys are biased audience members. I want to hear their views on your accusation. So go ahead. Let's hear your views on his accusation. Unmute your mic. Go.
Me?
Poser, go. I want to hear your views on censorship here at the Academy.
There is nothing. I think that's a bad assumption on Jamie's part.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that he censored people.
It's an implied assumption. You're saying
they're all biased. Everybody's here on my team.
I said if you've been following this long, it's very likely that you have a bias toward Plum's view.
No, I
don't think anybody subscribes to the 101 Manhood Academy and does it for 5 years and then thinks, "Oh man, I really am skeptical about this system."
Regardless if we take any argument the way it's presented, I'm going to look at how he's logically presenting it and what he said making sense to me.
Have you ever disagreed with me in class? Anything I presented in the ebook?
Pardon?
Have you ever disagreed with me in class or any of the views I presented? Even recently, have you disagreed with anything I presented?
Thousands of times. In fact, even this morning I argued with
you. There you go. This morning you argued against me. So you're claiming that you don't just follow me hook, line, and sinker with everything I say? This guy claims?
No, because I like to, say you make a principle, I like to think about, hey, what about this situation? I like to argue with you. And then you will I want to reason with you, and you tell me, well, you were thinking about it this way, or this is something that was missing, and then I think about it, I'm like, aha, now it makes sense. But I always like to question things that I learned or things that I heard from you. And I definitely disagree.
Well, according to you, you don't question anything because you've been here for so long. Xenic, what about you? You've been here a while. How do you take this accusation that you're just here on the bandwagon? You wouldn't be here unless you were already buying into my views, and you would never dispute me on anything.
I think that's kind of silly because I've heard your views.
Speak up, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I think that's silly because I've heard your views for months before in our classes, and it's like, I'm not here because you're here. I'm here because Jamie is here. I wanted to hear what he had to say, and I wanted to hear what you had to say in return, because it leads the way for something to be gained if there's an argument, because something can be resolved. The problem with this argument is that Jamie's viewpoints are so unspecific that there's no real direction in the argument. No one can discern anything.
According to him, it's because you're too dumb to discern it. His buddies would be able to get it like that.
I did not say that. So that's a
you just implied it. You implied it. So you just said either they're too biased. Straw man. You're a straw man. Hey, straw man. You're too biased. You're too biased to hear the argument.
You're more likely to be biased because you have.
And your friends wouldn't be biased. Your friends are intellectual giants.
A random selection of people that were just pulled out of the.
Random selection. We need a random audience next time. Let's get a random selection of people next time.
I'm just saying, you haven't.
So you think a random selection of people would agree with you? Would agree with your delusional views? You really think that would happen to a random selection of audience members? They would latch onto your views?
People that would agree with me, but I think they would understand what I was saying, and they wouldn't think it was muddy. Everything was just coincidentally muddy.
It just happened to be coincidentally muddy to everyone here. That implies that everyone here is too dumb to understand what you're saying. Why was it muddy for you? Blue, why was it muddy for you? His claim is that it's too muddy. It's too muddy.
Two things.
You just said it. You said the audience member, random audience members, we chosen at random, would be able to understand your views. Everybody here is too dumb to understand your views. That's what you're implying.
No, they're too biased.
They're too biased. Blue, why are you too biased to understand his views? Admit the truth. Why are you too biased to understand his views?
I would say this.
I genuinely believe the people that are here very much subscribe.
Right, and they're delusional. I want to find out why they're so delusional and why they subscribe to my views. I want to get to the bottom of this. Blue, why are you such a suck-up? Why are you such a kiss-ass? Why are you so delusional that you subscribe to my views and you can't rationally see this guy's argument? Why?
Well, okay, I would subscribe to your views just because of experience.
Forget experience. What about the argument?
But
That's perfectly
I would
fine.
say in favor of Jamie that because all of us have read the ebook, and I would say most of us agree with it in whole or part, there is a bias. I can't be the moderator and say I'm not biased when there clearly is a bias. But again, there's going to be a bias in everything. You know, if there's a 10 doctors and one of those doctors are alternative medicine specialists, there's going to be a bias. Not to say that what we believe isn't authentic or isn't true, but
Sure.
I would have to agree with Jamie that yes, there is a bias.
Okay, so he acknowledges the bias. Okay, what about you? What about you, Mr. Robot? You joined 1 day ago. Let me hear your bias. Your bias shouldn't be that forceful at this point yet. You shouldn't have been that brainwashed by the Academy at this point. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, like I said, I landed here yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brand new here, so I'm unblemished.
You're unblemished by Man in Academy. Okay, good. We want to hear your truthful, semi-biased opinion. You're only 1/10 biased.
My honest opinion was, again, that I'm having a hard time seeing where you're coming from, Jamie. I see, especially when it comes to the government, I see your argument when you're talking about how you made a couple examples about oppressive governments, where they come and they take you're basically saying taxation is a form of slavery, and Plum is arguing that, well, taxation is an accord between communities.
I think.
Yeah, but he's saying your bias prevents you from understanding my.
Do I think my bias prevents me from understanding? No, I don't think so.
He says your bias makes you dumb. You're not able to understand his arguments because you buy into my arguments.
You guys, I want to go. I don't want to deviate back to the old government topic. I want to get back to the current topic, which was Jamie said that you use a lot of language which he wouldn't consider. We wouldn't consider indicative of masculinity. So because you resort to language labels like faggot, mangina, that it in essence discredits you and doesn't represent manhood. What do you have to say to that one?
Well, I would just look at his own record. If he called us stupid, and it's ridiculous for him to be moralizing us about ad hominems when he already referred to us as stupid. So he contradicted himself and undermined his own argument. By his own definition, he wouldn't be any authority to talk about masculinity under his own hypocritical criteria. So it's silly for him to talk about the use of ad hominems as indicative of some type of masculinity. I mean, he hasn't even defined what his view of masculinity is. If he's going to dispute our view, I'd like to hear his view of masculinity.
I agree with that.
Jay, do you have a view on masculinity, or I haven't been able to see your YouTube videos, but do you have an opinion or a concept of what masculinity is in our culture?
Sure. I mean, it's elements of masculinity. And I did talk about that a bit in my video, and I'm sure I'm going to hear how that could also be extrapolated to women as well. But it was about being confident in who you are as a guy, enough to not take crap from people who want to try to basically bring you down or dictate your life. And that relates to both calling people names and demeaning them, and government taking over your life. I think those both two concepts are very central to masculinity: individualism and autonomy, self-direction. And
so that implies that women aren't masculine because they allow all that, or they, now that they do, that they are masculine. I mean, it's not even clear when you say it that way, because it implies
Is it wrong? Let me ask Jamie a question. Is it wrong if a man who doesn't pay child support, is it wrong for someone to call that man a deadbeat dad? That was a label that was applied to that guy. Would you say, that doesn't apply because it's ad hominem and everything else is bullshit?
Oh, great argument. I guess it is bullshit. I guess there's no such thing as a deadbeat dad. Those guys are all absolved. They're off the hook. Good argument, Blue. You just refuted him with his own logic. He's done.
No, actually, I'm trying to think if I want to actually address child support, because I actually
It's the issue isn't child support. He's talking about the use of ad hominem, the basis for you sliding our version of manhood because we use ad hominems.
About child support, but I'm just using this as a
Yeah. What about women who call guys douchebags if they do things they don't like on dates, or a guy who doesn't pay his child support? He's a deadbeat dad. What about these terms that are ad hominem attacks? So does that mean they don't know what they're talking about either, and their opinions can be instantly discounted?
Well, I think the better underlying issue is why are you saying that to begin with? You know what I mean? Why
are you saying what?
Why would you feel the need to call somebody a name instead of addressing the underlying issues? I think that's just an escape tactic.
They do it all the time then, but he's asking whether their views can be discounted then. Can we discount those feminist views?
I'm not sure. What are you asking? Repeat?
Can we discount those feminist views?
Based on what?
Based on them saying the guy's a deadbeat, an ad hominem attack. Not indicative of...
What becomes discounted by them using
their views. You said a masculine guy doesn't use ad hominem attacks. A masculine guy doesn't use ad hominem attacks, according to you. That doesn't vie with your version of masculinity. So what about women who employ terms like douchebag, creep, deadbeat? What's that?
You don't need to call somebody those names.
Yeah, we already know that. We're not disputing whether they should or shouldn't. We're saying, does that undermine their argument?
Not if there's a separate argument, no.
So it's irrelevant to even talk about name calling.
It doesn't make any sense because you're trying to group two concepts together. If I say 2 + 2 is 4, and then I say you're a faggot, right?
You're the one trying to group them. No, you're the confused one. You're the one who grouped ad hominems with not being indicative of masculinity. So you're the one who made the logical error, not me. I'm commenting on your logical error.
I'm talking, yes. See, no, you're conflating.
No. I'm repeating what you said. I told you what I said. I made this, I called him a bitch-ass little faggot, and you said, these demeaning terms are not indicative of masculinity. I'm repeating your argument to you, you hypocrites. I'm repeating your argument to you. That's your argument, not mine. You made the argument, not me. I'm repeating your argument back to you.
Because I can. There's two statements you say, right? One is calling somebody a name and masculinity. That's one.
You link them, not me.
And yes, I did.
And then I asked you, based on your linking of the two terms.
Seriously.
Seriously, I want you to answer the contention, like seriously.
30 seconds so I can finish my statement. Okay. There's two statements, right? The first one I said was, does an ad hominem attack relate to either negative or positively masculinity? Number one. The thing you brought in secondly was, if a feminist says, is this a deadbeat dad, that's an ad hominem attack, does that undermine their argument, right?
Meaning they're not feminine?
No, you said, does it undermine
their position? Just like it would undermine our position talking about masculinity. It's the same parallel argument. If I'm speaking about masculinity, and I'm saying this guy's a bitch asshole, and you're saying that undermines my argument for masculinity, a masculine guy wouldn't do that, I'm making a parallel contention based on your own logic. How are you too dumb to even realize that?
Because it's not about a converse. If you say those things, then you're masculine, and if you don't say them, you're
feminine. The one who made the fucking argument in the first place. You said, if I say, this guy's a bitch ass hoe, and then you comment on my masculinity as a result of what I just said, you're the one who made the argument, not me. How are you too dumb to see that simple point?
It doesn't make it feminine. It just...
Well, you said it undermines my masculinity, so what does it do to women who do that? What does it do to them?
It also undermines their femininity.
Didn't we just...
It does it for both ends.
Holy Christ. Didn't I just spend 5 hours getting to the simple point, and then you just changed your position and agreed with me now? Why did it take you so long? Why did I have to pull teeth so hard to get to the simple argument, the simple answer here? You could have just given me right in the beginning.
Where everything is a dichotomy. Not everything is
You created the dichotomy! You created the dichotomy, not me!
No, I didn't, so...
No? So I just imagine you, when you said it on tape and it's recorded for the audience to hear, that you said calling a person a bitch ass hoe undermines his masculinity because it's not indicative of a masculine guy in my book? So that's not what you said? Are you trying to lie to the audience when we have it on record, on public record here?
I never said...
you never said that. So we can play this tape back and listen to it, and it would have just suddenly disappeared, magically disappeared. Is that what you're claiming?
I agree with you.
Yeah. You're agreeing with me. After pulling teeth for 5 hours. Why? Why couldn't you just say yes? It was a simple argument. You made it. I made the parallel based on your argument. And now after 5 hours of hemming and hawing, of trying to give me bullshit excuses, you finally agree with me. How silly are you? It takes you 5 minutes to just say yes.
I'm not agreeing with your over premise. I'm agreeing with your statement that I said that before.
No, you just... Oh my God.
Alright, so...
I'm gonna leave that. This is why we have public scrutiny. So the public can decide if I'm bullshitting or this guy is delusional. I'm so glad we have public scrutiny here to have other audience members impartial. The great news is all our enemies will be listening to this podcast, and the public at large will be listening to this podcast. People who don't believe our views will be listening to this podcast, and they'll all be able to determine for themselves whether you're delusional and crazy or not, or whether I'm full of shit. I can't wait for the public to decide. I welcome them. I welcome them to arbitrate our debate. I'm so happy they're here to arbitrate our debate. That's what we need, public scrutiny.
Jamie, I'm going to give you the last word again.
I want to keep going, Blue. I love this debate. I'm burying this guy. Blue, I want to bury this guy until he's up to his neck in dirt.
Right. This
I want to keep
I
digging.
don't know if anybody's going to sit through the whole debate.
Blue, I don't care if you have to go, Blue. You go. Let him stay. I'm ready to keep debating.
Well, Jamie, we have nothing to say, but...
Shut up and get out of here, moderator. I need a new moderator. Get the fuck out of here. I want to keep going.
I'll moderate if he's got
Yeah, moderate. Blue has to go. Let Blue get the fuck out. Blue, take a hike. I nominate Poser as moderator. Let's keep going.
Alright, let's keep going.
Let's do it.
So what is your argument about in terms of men and women? You had some problem about the views that Man in Academy
Espoused.
has, talks about, and you have a problem with that. So what are your contentions with the views that Man in Academy talks about in terms of male-female relationships?
Yeah. Well, let me just give a tiny little background just to make sure that I know where there's probably some agreement. I agree it's wrong for women.
I'll tell you what. Let me stop you and just make it simple. I'll make it simple. We'll show a little 5-minute snippet from our video. It's very simple, compact, and you can stop, and now you have something concrete to respond to. You'll get our views encapsulated in this little video, okay? So we'll all view the video right now, just a little snippet of it, and you can comment specifically on...
I don't want to do that right now, but... just cut to the chase then. If you really want me to cut to the chase, then it's simply this. Being masculine doesn't mean abusing others or forcing your will onto others. It means knowing when to reject abuse from other people and knowing how to have healthy relationships because you're confident enough to not put up with women who abuse you or guys who abuse you.
That's a silly definition of masculinity because that could apply equally well to women. Women should be able to get into good relationships. So to say that only men should be able to get into good relationships, how would you make that... how would you make that exclusively a masculine characteristic or a masculine attribute? Doesn't make sense.
Traditional stereotypes of masculinity, with chivalry and being...
Yeah, we already exposed those. We exposed the machismo definition of masculinity, the cultural definition, the Rambo guy, the guy who has to grow the mustache, the so-called alpha male. We call bullshit on all those modern versions of so-called masculinity.
Exactly. I'm not here to play to those stereotypes or about a person's personality. That's dynamic. What I'm talking about is true masculinity in terms of how you view yourself, how you treat others, and how you set boundaries in your life.
Right. That has nothing. I mean, people, men and women need to set boundaries. So to call that masculinity is ridiculous. Masculinity has to do with a male function exclusively. What men, their responsibility as males are doing, not what females are doing on their responsibility. They have a different gender function than us. So to group them all under this term of both genders can be grouped under this criteria that you use. So it's ridiculous to even call that masculine.
Guys have unique things to bestow upon children and unique ways to help women in weaker areas of their lives, and certainly to be a stronghold.
But just like the government, those men cannot govern their relationships properly without authority over a woman in a relationship. It will not work.
Well, I would agree to the extent that there is a consensuality to that, as marriage ought to be, consenting to that agreement. It's different from government because you didn't get to choose that agreement. You didn't get to choose your government, just like you don't get to choose who you marry.
Just like you don't get to choose who you marry, right? They just everything's an arranged marriage in America. I forgot about that point. Is that what you're contending?
No, I was distinguishing between marriage and government. Government forces you into the relationship. Marriage.
What about a child and adult? You're forced into a parental relationship. Should the parent go, hey, sorry, son, you were born from my loins. I'm going to give you a vote on what type of food you should eat. Do you want to eat chocolate cake or vegetables? I'm going to let you vote on that. I'm not going to force my will on you. I'm going to let you do whatever you want, just as long as you agree. I need your consent, informed consent first. Do you think that's going to work?
Well, here's the thing. Parents can treat their children whatever way they want as long as they're not initiating violence.
They are initiating violence. What do you do when a kid doesn't behave? You spank him. You set boundaries. You punish him.
That's not mandatory. But
yeah, you know what happens to those kids where they don't get punished? They fucking end up the future criminals. That's why single mothers produce future criminals. They produce the vast majority of future criminals behind bars because they refuse to punish their children.
I'm not saying punishment should not be present. I said hitting kids. There's a difference.
No, there can be punishment by disagreeing. There can be punishment by humiliation. There can be physical punishment by spanking. There's all types of punishment. To say that you can't spank, but you could say no, it's ridiculous because let's put it this way in a real life example. What if a cop was speeding behind you and he just said, hey, you know what? You need to stop speeding. I disagree with your speeding, so you should stop. Do you think that guy would fucking stop if that's all the cop could do? Of course not. You even agree yourself to the laws that a cop should use force to make this guy stop. So you are hypocritical when you say a government shouldn't enact force when you believe in force. You wouldn't want that cop to go around there without a gun. You wouldn't want that cop to not have authority to stop a citizen disobeying the law.
It's a different issue.
It's the same issue. It's the exact same issue.
No, because one is it's the fundamentals. You have to get to how does a police officer get to exist in the world?
I didn't agree to him existing. I'm under his authority. How did that happen? Magic, right?
Exactly. There's a difference between that and private property rights, which are always in the mind. Everything is a construct of the mind.
Everything's a construct of the mind. Everything just happens in your mind. How do you get away with these ridiculous views? These are such ridiculous and practical views. Your education was wasted on theoretical viewpoints. Nothing applies to the real world with you.
Words on paper don't mean anything.
They mean everything to you. All you've argued is social construct that you can't apply anything to a real life situation. It's ridiculous.
Yes, all the time. This is all real world stuff.
This is not real world stuff. I just gave you an example that you agree with the so-called tyranny of violence, where you would rather a police officer be armed with a gun and be able to stop a speeding suspect than not.
I don't believe in government police as a valid construct.
So you believe that a government could run without the police?
I don't want a government at all.
You believe in total anarchy. Everybody just does whatever they want, right? We just grab whatever we can first.
Anarchy is not chaos. You should look that definition up on Wikipedia.
Okay, so it's a government now. So what happens in your version of anarchy when we have no government? Nobody tells me what. You don't tell me what to do. I don't tell you what to do. We just do whatever. Is that your version of government?
You can actually read up all about this at the Mises Institute. It's Mises.org.
I want to hear from you. I want to hear your so-called educated view. Okay, so your version of government is I do whatever the hell I want, and you do whatever the hell you want, right? And nobody can tell us otherwise.
Straw man.
Okay, tell me. Deconstruct the straw man. Get rid of the straw man. We wouldn't want a straw man here. Let's hear your version of it. Let's hear your educated view of it. Let's hear your educated view of it. I want to hear it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, sweet. I'm all ears. This is going to be awesome.
Great. Okay. Everything with morality comes from an internal construct about what you agree to do or not do.
Okay, we've heard your bullshit theory. Tell us how this government is going to run. Tell me how, practically speaking, your government, your ideal government, tell me how that runs. Without the police. Without the police.
I really tried.
We already heard the theoretical bullshit part of it. I want to hear the practical part of it. Tell me how it practically works.
How it practically works
yes.
is that people agree consensually and mutually.
Why do I have to agree with you? Why do I agree with you? What's the reasoning behind that?
Violate each other's property.
Right, but what if I don't agree with you? Then what?
Then you have the exact same outcome as you do with government. Violence.
So this government is getting enforced just by agreement. I agree with you, you agree with me. Kind of like a marriage contract. I agree with you till death do us part. Honey, I'll be with you forever. Right? Agreement. How well do those agreements on paper work?
They don't always work well. Sometimes they do.
According to you, that's the solution to everything. Agreement. No enforcement, just agreement.
Yeah, that's how it all
just
works.
Mutual agreement. Yeah, that's how it all works. No, that's how it all doesn't work in the real world. I don't know if you've been in the real world lately. That's not how it works. That's exactly how it decays. That's exactly how society decays. When there is no enforcement, of the rules, when there is no enforcement of law, when there are no enforcers, this is exactly the type of society you get.
What you're saying are all straw men. I'd love to explain more, but you keep butting in and I can't finish my argument if you keep talking.
You haven't even presented a logical argument. You keep presenting your theoretical argument. You keep presenting your theoretical argument. We want to hear your practical argument. We want to hear your practical argument, not your theoretical argument. We've heard your bullshit reasoning behind everybody creates everything in your mind. We want to hear how this is practically going to work. How is it practically going to work?
Done? Okay.
Yes. I want to hear how it practically works.
Great. Everything that works is just like the private sector, okay? You have businesses which act and operate, and historically you've seen this with guilds and trade associations and consumer reviews, where people...
With violence.
...voluntarily associate with private organizations.
You forgot the violence part.
Oh, no, I don't say there isn't types of violence. Violence does not exist, and not stop existing, just like murder or rape or theft. They don't disappear.
Well, I'm saying it exists in your version of the government, where you're referring to historical guilds.
I'm not claiming that it doesn't.
Okay, keep going. I just want to add that stipulation.
There's government. Wow, it's not a
Right,
surprise.
I want to add that stipulation so I'm clear that you're not delusional. You just think there's no violence at all. So I want to know where your utopia comes in. I want to know when your utopia comes in.
I actually have a video on this if you'd like to watch later. It's called The 5 Common Fallacious Critiques of Voluntarism, and that deals with some of the things you're talking about. But I'll just cut to the chase. Everything is about private association. People have mutual interests in dealing with each other openly and honestly because everybody doesn't want to get screwed. People like to be protected. People have a genuine interest in their security.
How can we talk about protection? How can we talk about protection without violence? How do we even talk about the concept of protection?
I didn't say there isn't violence or that self-defense doesn't exist. I don't think that...
So self-defense. If you screw me over, I can defend myself. I could kill you, right?
you could potentially kill me if I was going to use, violent deadly
Right, so
force.
in your society, we all have a 6-gun and we all police ourselves. If I think you're fucking me over, I just shoot you, right?
No, I don't think that it would just be if you're effing me over. I mean, in government right now...
Why not? Because
Second Amendment.
according to you, well, we don't have a Second Amendment. We only have your theoretical version of government, which is disagreements. You agree not to screw me.
When they don't have guns?
You agree not to screw me. I agree not to screw you. There's no constitution involved in your utopia here. Utopia is based on the current government. We have police officers. In your version of the government, there are no police officers. So now we just have mutual agreements where we don't want to fuck each other over. So in your mutual agreement with me, if I deem you to have fucked me over, do I then just shoot you?
Straw manning.
Please.
What? Your theoretical
Okay, I think this is a confusion.
Hey, Blue, hold on. We're talking about your theoretical version of government, and why are you all of a sudden saying strawman? He's trying to address your theoretical version of government, and you're saying what? You're saying what? You don't realize there's guns, but he's talking about your theoretical version of government.
Well, I mean, I can address that too. The straw man was related to you don't want police. He made a positive statement saying, "Oh, you don't want police." There will be a demand for people who provide security, just like there's private security.
So we'll just call them onions. Okay, whatever they are, they're going to carry guns. They're going to use deadly force, correct?
Well, yeah.
So we're not having police. We're just having people who act as police, but we're calling them onions. Is that what you're saying?
No, because they're not funded through taxation, which is mandatory subscription, and you're not brought into the contract without.
So it's basically like a private enforcer. It's no different than if I have a gun. I'm a cop. Why can't I carry a gun? What's the difference? What's the difference? If I just carry a gun, I'm my own security. Problem solved, right? What's the difference?
Please do.
Okay, so again, in your society, we're coming back to square one. We all carry a 6-gun, and if you disagree with me and I disagree with you, I just shoot you. I'm my own security force.
Yes, but there are real consequences of that.
Doesn't matter. I decide whether you screw me over or not, and I just shoot you if I decide you screwed me over. That's how justice is in your society.
What stops you from doing that now?
The police, laws, losing a property, punishment, all types of things.
Bring it back to life.
What's that?
Can I chime in for a minute?
Yeah, go on now.
Please jump in. Please jump in.
Please don't stop the guy from killing you. Once you're dead, and they come up and put your body in the morgue.
That's irrelevant.
Go ahead and chime in.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, dude. Jamie, what it sounds like to me that you're advocating is libertarianism.
That's
where basically like everyone, you stay on your property, do your own thing, stay the fuck out of my business.
Kumbaya, my lord,
tax
kumbaya.
And we'll figure. It kind of seems to be contingent upon the fact that all people are inherently good, and we can all agree.
Yeah, well, I'll just fucking frolic in the daisies and agree with each other.
Straw man.
This is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm perceiving from your. This is how you're presenting your debate to me. This is my feedback on what I'm hearing from you, Jamie. So I mean, would you like to expand on that then?
Oh yes, yeah. No, actually not at all. Quite the opposite. I think libertarianism thinks that people actually act with their self-interest in mind, but because of that, it doesn't mean that everybody is out there to kill people. People want to live well. People want to have property, peace, the ability to, be free and make their own, choices.
Right.
And I think that collectivized, in other words, people getting together for their self-interests leads to people creating structures or purchasing into structures and systems for their mutual benefit. People do this privately now. The government isn't the only form of cooperative. If you think of like the YMCA.
Right. Nobody's disputing that. You don't understand. Nobody's disputing that people want to live in a society where people benefit each other and help each other. That you grow crops for me, well, I protect you or provide some service for you. I'm the blacksmith. I make weapons, and you make you make beer or something, and we have a mutual bartering trading agreement, so we're both benefiting each other. Nobody's disputing that. We're disputing the problems that are going to come up in your utopian hippie society. What happens when there's a problem? I disagree. I think you screwed me over. Now I got my 6-gun. I just shoot you.
That's a great question. No, absolutely. When you have those type of private disputes, what will likely happen is that people will join together in different types of insurance.
Oh, like a government?
No, not like a government.
No, not a government. Okay, we'll call this a banana. Not a government, a banana. All right.
Well, I guess
you're straw manning it again.
Straw man. Go ahead, clarify it. It's not a government. I want to hear this non-government entity.
I think there's some confusion. As the moderator, I want to ask Jamie.
No, you're not the moderator anymore. You had your chance.
We got a moderator controversy. This moderator just went rogue.
What are you going to call your organization?
No, it's not a single organization. For example, right, in America right now, you have the American Arbitrators Association of America.
Let's not talk about American arbitrators. Let's just talk specifically about your society. We have a problem. You and me, you're a farmer. I believe you ripped me off with crops. What's going to happen now to resolve it? How is our dispute going to be resolved? Let's talk in practical terms.
How was it engaged in originally?
I believe you didn't. Look, you didn't rip me off. I'm crazy old man crotchet, and I think you ripped me off. So I want justice. How do we resolve? How does it get resolved? Tell me.
Well, look, I need to first say that this is really important, and you're going to say, oh, it's theoretical, but you have to understand this is the foundation.
Yeah, but I don't care about foundation. We heard all your theory already. Let's talk in practical terms. How is this going to be carried out? I believe you ripped me off.
Are you familiar with it? Okay.
Jamie, this practical example. Yeah.
Let's answer a practical example here. I'm a farmer. I believe you ripped me off. What happens?
They could seek out a type of mediation. They could seek a mediation.
Okay, I come to this mediator. This guy right here, Poser, is a professional mediator. We're seeking him out. Now what?
Then, if that mediation agency has some sort of public notice, they can put in a public notice about.
Okay, he makes a public notice, and here we are meeting now. Now what?
But hold on, I want to moderate. But that again sounds like a government public notice.
Okay, forget it. Let's not call it a government yet. He's just describing a mediation process. Okay, so we contact you. We form this meeting right here. This is a public hearing to determine you screwing me out of corn crops. Okay, now what?
Sure. And then that notice would be sent to the individual.
We already formed the meeting here. All the individuals are here. We're all here. We're at the meeting of the corn. We're at the corn meeting.
And then typically, if they're potentially one of the big mediation groups or guilds, something like that, then you would have a decision that would come down based on facts and evidence, much like you would imagine with.
Okay, Boggles, decide that he's in the right and I'm in the wrong. I'm just making it up. Go ahead, make your decision right now as a guild moderator.
So he wronged you?
Yes, I brought a case against him. I'm saying he wronged me and he owes me money. And I want you to I want you to decide against me as the professional moderator.
I find for you. Okay, let's just say I find for you.
Say I find for the plaintiff or defendant.
Sure.
I find for the defendant. You're the defendant, right?
Okay, let me try to understand.
You don't need to understand. Just say I find for the defendant.
Okay, I find for the defendant.
Fuck you! I'm gonna shoot him anyway. Now what?
No. Well,
No, he said exactly the judgment. He found for you. He said, I find for the defendant. And I said, you know what? Fuck you, moderator. I'm going to shoot him anyway. I believe you wronged me. Now what?
Then you'd be enacting self-defense just like in real life.
Okay, so I'm justified. I can just kill you, right?
No, you're justified in using self-defense against someone that's trying to murder you.
Right, but I believe you stole crops from me and you owe me and you're not going to pay me back, so now I want to kill you.
And the court that would say, you find for you and you owe him X amount of whatever.
No, he found against me. He said I was bullshitting. I made it all up. He said, you're bullshitting, old man Cratchit. He didn't owe you anything. And I said, you're bullshit, Your Honor. Fuck you, I'm going to kill him anyway. Now what?
Then if you try to kill him or do anything like that, anybody who would be reasonable to use self-defense for you or for him or on behalf of him.
But what do you mean behalf of him? Who's going to work on behalf of you, the corn farmer?
Imagine he turned around and you point a gun about to shoot him and somebody who stops you.
Who's that somebody? You? Or the police force you hired? Why would anybody even get in our business? I'm just shooting you. It's only a dispute with you.
Because people defend each other if they think that someone's about to get
according to you, you're already assigning motives to people. Are you going to jump in? Let me ask a guy right here. Hey, I forgot your name on the forum. Alex, what's your name on the forum? Mono?
This is really not on topic anymore.
Martian. Mr. Martian, are you going to jump in? I'm aiming a gun at this guy. Are you going to jump in on his behalf and start shooting? Or are you going to clear out?
It's immaterial whether somebody does or doesn't. It really doesn't matter.
Okay, let's say I'm going to shoot you. So we got the Wild West, basically. It's just...
No, because that's no different than government is now. You're not describing anything different.
Okay, so how is your utopian system any different than the government? How is it? You said there's no government agency or no police officers, etc. We have the Wild West, essentially.
No, because you could pick and choose your self-defense and your associations instead of being...
I can pick and choose my... What does that mean, I can pick and choose my self-defense? What's that mean?
You can pick and choose guilds that you'd like to join for transacting, much like credit bureaus. Like, there's 3 major credit bureaus in the United States.
What does this have to do with my dispute with you? What does that have to do with that?
Because when people join together in those types of credit resolution insurance agencies, it provides a means for alternative dispute resolution, as opposed to going to violent means to be...
I don't agree with the terms of the resolution. Now I want to shoot you. Now what?
You sound like somebody who doesn't agree with the United States government and goes to shoot somebody.
You're the one who doesn't agree. You're the one who just said you don't want to have that government. You want to have everybody fucking armed and Wild West. No police officers. It's just the Wild West.
You're showing your own irony. You can do that.
Irony?
The government doesn't magically come into your brain and stop you from murdering.
So there's no police officers, no law, no threat of violence to do that? I don't think, gee, if I rob this store, maybe the thought will come into my brain that I might get arrested, that I might go to jail, that I might suffer some consequences if I do that? That thought won't come into my mind? The thought of force and violence won't come into my mind? Are you fucking out of your mind?
Or if you're in a private store, it might occur to you that they have hired a private security guard. They're armed to the teeth at the counter.
So there's another. That's just another threat of violence on top of the federal laws. So now we have 2 sets of threats of violence. You have threats of violence again. Sounds like we got a government.
No, it's not the same thing as government.
Oh, there's no threats of violence then. So there's no violence in your government.
You're not initiating violence through taxation, and you're not.
So there's no threats of violence in your government.
What's that?
There's no threats of violence in your government. Everybody's just going to toe the line.
Not the initiation of violence.
Sounds like the government to me. Sounds like if I have my house around a public well, I just decide, oh, that's my property. It happens to be a water source that everybody in town needs. I go, fuck you. I'm going to keep it for myself. People are going to, oh, you know what? We'll just find an alternate water source 5 billion miles away in the desert. Or we'll just let you get away with that. We won't actually force you to share that water with anybody like they're doing today in society, where they're people who don't have a job, don't work, etc., are trying to force people who do have a job and do work to give them resources, to give them government resources. I'm entitled to healthcare. I'm entitled to this. I'm entitled to your money. I'm entitled to, free food, everything. So if there's that entitlement, like they're a mob basically, they have greater numbers. Why can't they just take it? Don't we just have might makes right then?
Yeah, you do that with government. That's what voting is. Voting is mob violence.
Okay, so voting is a mob then. Well, how is your system any different than a mob?
So we've kind of come full circle in this argument.
Yeah, he doesn't realize that.
No, it's perfect. This is exactly it. You're demonstrating the principles.
The principle of what? Of a mob?
With mob violence. And the difference between that and the...
And your version of government is... What's the difference between that and your version of government?
My version of government, which is not really government, it's governance, maybe by your terms.
Right. No, I'm sorry, banana. We're not calling it government. Your version of banana is that people just... They do the exact same things as the government, but we just don't call it government.
But they don't get put into their system by force. They're not told...
Right, so nobody's ever born into a family that is living under your governing structure. They automatically just all come by the stork, or they magically teleport there, and is that how it goes?
I'm not saying that there aren't family structures, and and I consider that a separate sphere.
A separate sphere. So when I'm a baby in a crib at my parents' house living under your governing structure, I'm under my own governing structure now. I just create my own thing. I create an island. You can't, I'm autonomous. You can't do anything to me. I don't have to agree to any of your laws.
Are you talking about the child?
Yeah, you just said I have my own autonomous governing structure. I don't agree with your structure at all. I want to live my own way. I want to live by might makes right within your governing structure. How do you resolve that?
Children can leave their parents whenever they're capable of taking care of themselves.
Forget that. Let's say I come in there, me and my five brothers, we come into your town. I set up my house right in the middle of your town, and I say, guess what? I believe in might makes right. I don't believe in your system of government.
Sure.
Now we fight you. Now what? Do you use your government force? What do you do against us?
I mean, people, self-defense, absolutely. I mean, but that would go across anything. If you move next door to me, and then I will...
Sounds like we have a government which believes in self-defense as well, which has set up moral standards, aka laws, to defend people by proxy. For instance, if you try to steal something from me, I go to a cop who can enact violence against you instead of just shooting you myself.
Correct.
So how is that different than a government?
Look, no, I'm not sure what you're saying. I was talking about...
Of course you're not sure what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at. You're not sure that you're talking about a government.
No, yeah, I know what I'm talking about as far as...
It seems like I'm talking about government.
Is anybody following this guy at all? I need to know if any of the audience members are following, or can anybody clarify the argument for me, please? Anybody? Anybody see any difference in this? I mean, I want to know.
I don't really understand the argument either, because he's saying that it's not a government, but yet, in his society, there's going to be an agreement to where there's going to be force instead of calling it a police. Police is going to be a private security form. So it's essentially you're getting the same thing.
Yeah, good point, Blue. That's what I feel. I perceive it the same way as well.
Correct, but the difference is that you get to pick and choose what you want, as opposed to being told that you have to give money to the monopoly that is government.
Pick and choose. This guy's gonna pick and choose? Are you kidding me?
How does anyone pick and choose whenever there's a precedent sense for your government? So if someone's born into the system, how is it like...
I get to just arbitrarily change the rules. I just pick and choose. And he has no government, remember? So he has a system set up, but then I just pick and choose. I don't want the system. Oh, end of story. It's not there.
May I say something that'll pique your curiosity?
Pique it.
Okay. We have separate governances as it is. It's called local, state, federal, territorial, Indian, right? And international.
Right.
Different types of court systems exist.
Right.
Different laws.
Right. There's oligarchies, there's monarchies, there's democracies, etc.
I'm saying, my point with that is that you're already used to it. You're already used to having diverse...
So you're saying we're already used to having diverse forms of government? Is that what you're telling me? Interesting.
Diverse forms of rules.
AKA governments? Ways of controlling people's behavior? Rules? Is that what you're talking about? What we've already been saying for the billionth time?
I would distinguish between governance and government. Government is an institution created by men.
What do you think happens when we have rules set down and somebody has to enforce those rules? They don't arbitrarily change generation to generation just because you decide, oh, I'm born today, now I'm going to change rules. I don't agree with them.
And what makes a government power to tax, right? Mm-hmm. Because the power to tax...
It's going to be interesting how you're going to get along with society when nobody has any community sense here. We're all just taking all the resources for ourselves because there's no cohesion. There's no governing structure here.
power to tax, and social mandatory.
How does this apply to personal relationships? That's what I'm interested in. How does this apply to you and your personal relationships with women and men? Well, actually, let's cover women specifically.
And let's cover the men and women. I would actually want to because
Let's cover that. How does the governance work there?
What do you mean?
Well, let's say we have a woman, and you're a man,
Sure.
and you're going to start a relationship, and there's going to be some governance going on where you're agreeing and negotiating. How's that going to work?
I would say through mutual reciprocation, love, and respect.
Mutual reciprocation, love, and respect. What happens when there's a dispute? What happens then?
Over what?
A disagreement.
A question. Say you want to move to Seattle and
Sure.
you are in a relationship, and she is like, "No, I have a career in New York."
Okay.
So what happens in that situation? Go ahead.
Each of you has to decide what you're going to do, and if one is not willing to move, then you have to part your ways.
Sounds like an awesome relationship. I like Chinese food. You like Mexican food. We can't decide where we're going to go. Let's just fucking end the relationship.
I mean,
No, well, it's a negotiation. If they're not willing to negotiate,
What are we negotiating? What negotiating power do we have?
well, I mean, if we're talking about fundamentals of the 5 love needs of men and women, then
The
that's
5 love me. I got to hear this. This is going to be
Well, I mean,
amazing.
obviously, guys want sex, girls want love, and
Guys don't want love. Girls don't want sex. That's your contention?
well, they want both. But realistically, guys give love to get sex,
Guys give love to get sex,
sex to get love.
and girls what?
Girls give sex to get love. Women want to be loved. This is a generality. Of course, there's diversity, but I'm just saying.
So
Generality.
guys
really
give
do
love, which they don't even fucking have any awareness of, so I don't know even how they're giving it in the first place, to get sex, and then women give sex to create this thing called love?
No, to receive love.
To receive this love, which guys aren't aware of, because their end goal is the sex. How do they even give the love? How do they even know what love is? Why do they even...
Yeah.
Huh?
It depends on how you define it. Someone uses
How I define it? I want to know how you define it. That's what I'm interested in, because it sounds really wacky.
I like the biblical summary. Love is patient, love is kind. It is not self-seeking. It is not boastful. It is not proud. It is not rude.
Mm-hmm.
It's gentle. I mean, I could use all these descriptive terms to describe what love is. Ultimately, it's self-sacrifice, putting oneself in second place.
Did you know you have to be in a loving condition to be loved? Do you realize why? That's why mercy reaches farther than love in the biblical sense?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're saying mercy is...
If you're not in a condition to be loved, if you're a homeless guy face down in the street, how can I love you if you're not in a condition to be loved?
Well...
What if you're a serial killer? How can I love you if you're a serial killer? If you're killing people, if you're causing destruction, if you're causing pain and suffering, you're not even in a position to receive love.
Not everybody's going to get loved.
So it's just arbitrary. So if you're not prepared to love, you don't know how to give love, you're not in a position to love, it's game over for you. What do? Just coexist in society? Don't you think they're going to create problems? Maybe some school shootings?
I think that then if you think that's an important value of yours to love others...
you don't think that's an important part of a relationship to even work?
If you're worried about people who are going to go out there and cause problems because they're not loved, then I would recommend going and showing them love. Go show kindness.
No, I'm interested in how your relationship is going to work with somebody who's got a different perspective than you, because obviously you're not going to agree on everything. So if you're not even willing to resolve or you have no mechanism for resolving a dispute, you have no governing body, you have no hierarchy of authority. How are you ever going to keep a relationship together?
You have to be willing to sacrifice.
What if a child's not willing to eat vegetables? They just hey, I'm emancipated from my parents. Sorry, tough luck. I don't want to eat vegetables. Sorry for you.
When it comes to that man and woman relationship, it ultimately means that you have to show them that you're putting them first and you second. I mean, that's
you know what? You know who puts a lot of people first? These guys. Here's a guy who puts somebody first. I'm a self-professed nice guy who's very respectful. I share your views, Jamie. I literally do not have it in me to not be a nice person. Oh, sorry, I always end up in the friend zone. I'm a lot of things that girls say.
Well,
I'm a nice guy, except I always end up in the friend zone. Oh, I'm a nice guy, I end up in the friend zone. Oh, I'm a nice guy, I end up in the friend zone. Oh, I'm a nice guy, I end up in the friend zone. I respect women, I end up in the friend zone. Oh, here's miles of pages of women making fun of me, making fun of my dating profile because I'm so nice and respectful. I want to do it Jamie's way, and yet I get rejected and end up in the friend zone. Gee, I wonder why that is. No governing structure. Seems to work great, doesn't it?
Well, actually, not. And here's something where we're going to find a lot of common ground. Okay?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I agree with you that there's been a cultural decay destroying women through, of course, things such as neo-feminism, breaking down the family, changing how women,
Not just women, men too.
Men too. Treat women with love and respect. And I have been certainly I've definitely had my heart hurt several times.
Well, I think that means that you're doing something wrong.
No, well, have that.
If you did it my way, you wouldn't be in your situation getting your heart broken X amount of times.
Well, I wish it was that simple, but
It is that simple. That's why we have this academy. It is that simple.
I disagree with your tactics.
I know you
but
disagree, but the proof is in the pudding. You have your heart broken multiple times.
Your tactics have.
I mean, the proof speaks for itself.
Your tactics have the ability to work. How you treat it, the dominance, and a slightly abusive, what I consider abusive,
Right.
works because the women are broken.
Oh, they're
Not
broken.
because it's healthy. Because
So,
they
right.
addicted-
So because they're broken versus your way where you get your heart broken, but they're all healthy women? Is that what your contention is?
No, I'm not here to say that anything is easy anymore. I mean,
Okay. So you basically rationalize your relationship failures by saying it's just not easy. Not that the women are at fault. In every case, you're at fault. Or it's just not easy.
Oh no, it's definitely not my fault.
It's definitely not your fault?
No, you can't help the fact that some girls are.
How come I can magically help that? How come I can magically help that in all my relationships? I've been magically be able to, for different women from different walks of life, TV producer, model, waitress, makeup girl, all these different girls from different walks of life magically have been able to make it work. I don't wonder how that happened. Just by accident? How come I was able to repeat everything step by step and same result, whereas your result is heartbroken. What do you think? I'm magically better looking than you? You're a sexy looking guy. You should have no problem.
Oh, I don't have a problem with.
Oh, you don't have a problem? You just magically end up heartbroken?
No, there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that go on beyond that, and it's
Beyond
because
that.
a lot of things that we both recognize.
I bet you I could take all your girlfriends and make them fall in love with me and have no problems.
Good luck, please.
You know what? I would love to. Give me their numbers. I would love to prove you wrong. I would love nothing more than to prove you wrong.
I mean, by all means.
We're in the business. We're in the business of proving nice guys wrong.
No, but here's the thing. I know how it works, but I know.
Oh, you know how it works. That's why you keep getting heartbroken. That's how you know.
No. I know how it works because I'm very adept at reading people. I like.
Oh, you're so adept at reading people. You knew they were going to break your heart, so that's why you got in a relationship, so you could get your heart broken. That's how adept you are at reading people. I only wish I had those mind reading skills. I would know which lottery tickets to waste my money on, so I wouldn't win. Congratulations to me.
Yeah. Well, in any case, it's unfortunate that it's come to this point for a lot of women, and they become so.
No, it's unfortunate. You've come to this point. You don't even realize it. You're so delusional. You're making excuses for your own emasculated behavior, which doesn't even result in a relationship where a woman doesn't break your heart. We've been actively teaching. You know how I can say this definitively?
Look,
not only from personal experience, but every guy here who's at this academy is learning that when they do things a certain way, when they exercise authority over a woman in a relationship, suddenly they don't get the heartbreak. Suddenly they get friends, even guy friends. They want to hang out with them more. They're more enthusiastic to be around them. They're more attractive people because they know how to exercise authority in their relationships with both men and women, which you don't know how to do, which is why you keep ending up in heartbreak. It's a tragic situation. You know how many guys just like you have talked to you that have bullshitted me and give me X, Y, Z. Oh, it's the weather. She wasn't ready yet. It was the timing. Her mom got intervened. It was her best friend said this. It was none of that bullshit. They couldn't ultimately exercise authority in a relationship. You don't realize that if women are attracted, they will fucking make up a myriad of excuses to get into relationships with you, even if you're bad relationship material, just because you're exercising authority in the relationship.
I'm actually not going to disagree with you that.
I wouldn't disagree with me either because I'm the proof in the pudding.
I mean, I don't know about all the minutiae of details, but I would agree with you that
We do. That's why we have this academy. We're here to teach guys just like you who don't know what the fuck they're doing.
it does attract women because they like that security. Yes,
They like security. You can't provide security for them?
I have plenty of the security part. That's not the issue.
Well, then what is the issue?
It's too much to talk about.
Too much to talk about.
It really is. I really don't want to hear all the details. But no, you're absolutely right. When it comes to that type of thing, on the surface, that would definitely attract any woman. You know,
I'm glad you know that so definitively, yet you're just so unwilling to try it, so unwilling to even investigate our views, to even see the results of what we do here.
No, I'm not. It's not that I'm not unwilling to investigate your views or read that. I never said that I wouldn't investigate your views. I just simply was talking
So
about
your investigation involves making a YouTube video based off of silly assumptions of machismo? That's your version of I want to investigate?
No, everything I talked about was dealing with government in particular and with...
No, you address things in our video. What are you talking about?
I mean, I address masculinity as well.
Exactly my point. Your version of masculinity is exactly the version of these guys who fucking end up in the friend zone, who are the nice guys, who get praised by women in public, and they get made fun of behind their back and end up on fucking Tumblrs like this. I mean, it's sad that these guys are actually getting pats on the back, so they're encouraged to keep being pussies, and yet women then go back to their friends and make fun of them and post their pictures and dating profiles all over fucking public Tumblrs, making fun of them, trying to humiliate them. And these guys have no fucking clue. That's you. No fucking clue.
Well, it's not actually me.
No, it's not actually you. I forgot. You didn't get your heart broken. Or is that a straw man? Did you get your heart broken or not? Is that a straw man?
I got my heart broken. I'm not saying I didn't.
Many times?
Just twice.
Oh, just twice. That's it? Just twice?
Yeah.
Because you said a few times. Few is a little more than twice to me.
Two.
Okay.
2 or more.
2 or more?
Few.
A few? So more than 2.
2 or more.
Or more? So now it's more. It's about at least 3. Oh, we're getting close to truth. Is it 3 or 4? Is it 3 or 4? Think hard. Go back in your memory.
I've only had 2 long-term relationships.
And the other one didn't get the heart broken, even though you didn't consider it long-term? Heartbroken? No? Yes? No? Piney over her a little bit? No? Yeah? Don't fucking bullshit me. We got at least 3.
Really
we got at least 3. Come on.
Look, I understand what you're doing.
Yeah, I understand what I'm doing too. It's called getting to the truth.
Where we diverge is past the point of the show. In other words, past looking good, being confident, being that like cool kind of cocky guy, sexy but a little bit aloof. Like,
that's what we teach her, being sexy but aloof, wearing goggles on our heads and top hats, and just growing a mustache but not too long, getting your pump on in the gym but not too buff, just a little bit of buffness, wearing tight clothes but not totally tight so you're a homosexual, wearing tailored clothes but not too expensive to be a bourgeoisie. Is that what you're talking about? Some kind of like a faux version of masculine? Is that like a guy at a club who can kind of dance but doesn't spend 5 hours a day there, just on the weekends? Is that your version you're talking about, masculinity?
You very much underestimate me.
Oh, I do. I would love to overestimate you. I'm waiting for the proof to overestimate you. I'm ready to be enthusiastically on your team. Give me a reason to be on your team to overestimate you. Because I hate to underestimate you. I wouldn't want to do that. Give me the proof. Give me the proof.
What's the proof?
I want to know about your relationship. What you've learned about relationships. How to do it. The problems you made. You seem to know the problems the mistakes you made in your relationship. Because you keep correcting me, so I want to hear your version of how to do it correctly. I want to overrate you now. Go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, I really.
You don't know, yet you can tell me what I'm doing right or wrong in a relationship. You don't know, but I know, and I can show proof, and I've been able to reproduce it with other guys, and yet you still feel inclined to teach me, to tell me how to do it the right way? You seriously believe that?
I don't know what exactly I would want to do to get the exact person who I really want, which is very difficult.
I do know that answer to that question.
Well, it stems more with finding the person.
No. That's a delusion that every guy comes here with. I want to find the perfect girl. Every girl's a bitch. Every girl's materialistic. Every girl's shallow. Every girl's this. Every girl's that. They're too intellectual. They're too frigid. They don't give enough sex. They're a sex maniac. I gotta find the perfect girl. No, that's all bullshit. We teach guys how to create the perfect girl. We teach them how to govern other people's behavior to meet their needs. Just like we talked about with the government. We teach you how to do that. So you're not looking for a needle in a haystack. You have 1,000 needles, and then you just have to shape one needle. That's what we teach here. That's why these girls from different walks of life, I was able to get all of them to fall in love with me. Not just a rich girl type, or a super sexy girl type, or a waitress type, or a super shy girl type, or a bitch type like my last girl was which we would consider a super bitch. Even her. So all these different types of girls, these so-called complex girls, individual girls, somehow, what am I, the most fucking attractive guy in the universe? What am I, the most handsome Brad Pitt prototype in the universe? No? You see me yourself. You wouldn't look twice at me if I was on the street. But yet, I've been able to do what you haven't been able to do. How is that?
What's that? What have you been able to do that I haven't?
Oh, maybe you want to read our ebook. Come on, we'll start there and then we'll have another debate. Oh.
I like your coy teasing.
Yeah, I can definitely explain it to you. Do you have about 5 hours?
But wait, what's your Myers-Briggs type? Yeah, no, I'm serious.
Oh, okay. Under your criteria, I would be considered an introvert. If you want to go by Myers-Briggs, I would be an introvert.
So are you an INTJ or INFJ? INFJ?
Either one. I would be the guy who would be you would consider me the shy book nerd if you were going to put it that way.
INFJ, probably.
What are you, bro, on the Myers-Briggs personality test?
What?
Are you the extrovert or the introvert?
Oh, ENTP.
You're the super party animal?
Extroverted, intuitive thinking person.
Wow, look at you. You should have a leg up on me. I don't even socialize. How do I know so much more about you? I mean, about forming relationships with women when I'm such an introverted guy in the Myers-Briggs test. Shocking. Maybe that test is complete bullshit.
You have no idea how fast you're talking, and you have no idea who I am.
I know. I can't wait to be dazzled. I'm still waiting to be dazzled by your intelligence. You notice I'm so in the dark. I'm so into the dark and clueless to your capabilities. And yet I bring you here to embarrass me, and I'm still waiting to be embarrassed by your breadth of knowledge and education. I'm still waiting for that.
I'm not looking to embarrass you.
I wish you would embarrass me. You need to put me in my place, because obviously I have a big head. I make all these bold claims that I know what I'm doing, and yet an educated person like you should easily be able to put me in my place. I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting to hear the evidence. I'm waiting to hear the proof.
I know plenty about government and natural law.
Plenty about government. I think we've proven that you know dick about government, and as a result of knowing dick about government, you don't know dick about women.
You are shaming yourself.
As a moderator, you say you know a lot about masculinity, but when I hear about your relationships, you talk about how you get heartbroken. If you really knew that much about masculinity, you like from what you're talking, you seem like you don't know how to make relationships work well for you. But then you say you know a lot about masculinity. Those things don't gel properly.
Well, that assumes that simply being masculine means that you're going to make a girl fall in love with you forever. That's not true.
His version of masculinity, you just keep getting your heart broken.
Yeah, if you being something made a girl love you forever, then that'd be great. That'd be easy. You wouldn't have to do anything more than just do what you're doing, and boom, she's locked.
I just want to thank Jamie for being honest, because if Plum were debating a chick right now, she would lie and say, "Oh, all my relationships have been working out well." So I just want to say, congratulations on your honesty. Keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
Oh, you're fine.
No, I wanted to hear I wanted to hear the rest of your thought. Keep going. He cut you off in the middle of your thought.
Oh no, I'm just saying. There's an independent will,
and the independent will is what's creating the barrier from you falling in love and not getting heartbroken, not your delusional views on relationships, government, masculinity, etc. None of those have anything to do with your relationship failures.
I wouldn't consider those delusional, but sure, they're independent. But it's a very complicated thing, and I am.
You sound very complicated, and that's the problem. There's so much bullshit to you, so many layers of bullshit, that it complicates you from having a functional relationship, which is very, very simple. It's very, very simple. I have all people on complex. My intellect compared to your intellect is light years ahead. But even I know, with my vast intellect, that relationships are ridiculously simple. I mean, I of all people was the most neurotic guy thinking this and that, trying to form contingency plans, wondering if this was the reason I wasn't good looking enough, I wasn't acting a certain way, maybe it was girls who were just, it was a cultural issue, and I lived where more white girls were, so I was having problems identifying them, or this or that. So I of all people, uber calculated every variable that could be fucking me over. I of all people made things ultra complex, so I of all people know what it's like to go into your delusional mindset and say, oh, relationships are just so complex, so many factors, can't determine any of that. But once I understood how to get rid of the bullshit, how to get rid of all these layers of excuses and rationalizations for my emasculated behavior, suddenly everything was simplified. Everything worked the same way. Fundamentally, it was more uniform. How is that possible? That's so complex, so intellectual about the process, just like you. And then suddenly, it all makes sense now. How can I teach this? Do you ever consider this? How we teach these principles that govern relationships, which govern any type of relationship, no matter how small or how big, to men around the fucking world who are from all different cultures. They're from all different cultures.
A promo segment now?
A promo segment? I don't know. I'm giving you proof. This is proof, not a promo segment. I'm saying, how could we do this? This is an argumentation. This is a challenge to you.
Yes,
you could make it biased that, it's just these set of men right here, just these narrow set of men in California, just white males, just handsome males, just wealthy, affluent males. It couldn't possibly be every single person from around the world, different cultures, can respond to the same information. You notice we're not tailoring their information to like a Spanish crowd, or a black crowd, or an ethnic crowd, or a Russian crowd, and yet, surprisingly, shockingly, it still works the same? You ever consider that?
Are the girls that you are going after, are they more feminine, like traditional?
No, didn't I just tell you? The my last girl was a bitch. Every guy she was in a relationship with, she was in a divorce before, she was like, this guy's such a puss, he was crying. She's like laughing at him because he was crying. So like, you affect me so much, you never do what I say. And she's like fucking laughing at this guy. I'm like, this girl's a total bitch. She would fucking defy me all the time. I'd kick her out sometimes. I mean, there was countless problems with her behavior. She was a bitch. A mega bitch.
Yeah. I said, no,
magic. Once again, magic. Oh, I'm in love with you. Oh, I never did anal with anybody. Oh, I've never sucked anybody's dick before. This is a new experience. No, shit. How does it magically happen with me? What am I, a magical penis? No?
No, it's because by becoming unaccessible, you're attracted.
Oh, I'm unaccessible. That was it. That was my secret. I was unaccessible. Hey, she called. I didn't pick up. Hold on, bitch. I gotta wait 3 rings. Hold on, bitch. I gotta call you. You know what? As soon as I got her number at the supermarket, I met her in the supermarket. I got her number,
I don't want that.
and I was so inaccessible that after I got her number outside of the supermarket, I texted her, "Hey, when do you want to go out? I want to go out with you. I want to see blah 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 blah." I was sending her text after text after text right after I met her. I'm supposed to wait 3 days, motherfucker. I'm supposed to be inaccessible. I'm supposed to be a cool aloof guy. How come I magically was able to break those rules? I don't understand, man. I don't get it.
I get it, though.
Oh, you get it? Oh, please explain it to me.
Yes, I actually do.
Please explain.
You hold your cards.
What?
I'm going to head out for now.
Okay.
Well, I do have to go get to eat.
We welcome you back. We welcome you back for round 2. And thank you for not rage quitting like our other previous cowardly opponents.
Gotta give you
Jamie,
thumbs
thanks
up.
for sticking around, man.
And I don't know, it seems like you might end up being a student here. That's how it feels like.
But
I've
Jamie,
had enough schooling, 7 years of
Yeah. His schooling has ruined his thought process. We got to unfuck so many years of brainwashing from a professional academic career. He's a product of what Mark Twain warned about. I never let my schooling get in the way of my education. In your case, you did. You need to get back here for round 2. We look forward to seeing you again.
I'm always learning. It's a beautiful thing.
We love to teach. Come back for round 2. The invitation is open. You've seen us here.
Wait till you have your own game show. It's going to be great.
You've seen we don't bite. Come back. We'll go for round 2. Thank you for attending this series of Manhood Academy debates. We'll see you next time.
And thank you. It was my pleasure to meet y'all as well.
We enjoyed having you here. A round of applause for this guy. This guy didn't rage quit. This guy was a valiant opponent. I'm going to give this guy a strong 8.5 on the opponent scale. Did not fucking back down. Did not crack. Did not go into tears. Did not rage quit. This guy is awesome. Thanks, Jamie.
There's nothing to rage about.
You have your. I made an account for you. You can change the password at leisure, so you can always visit. You can always go in the chat room too and talk to anybody in there. Ask any questions. We encourage you to investigate the ebook. Come back for round 2. Let's go at it again. I was excited. I got a boner.
Did you?
I got a boner. I mean, you're a handsome guy. At first, I thought it was because you're a handsome guy, but I think it was our debate. It just turned me on. Boner.
Well, I enjoy that you actually do enjoy it.
You know what? I know it's on the surface. It's like an adversarial position, but in reality, I'm trying to bring you over from the dark side or the delusional side or the nice guy side into a functional side where you can have a relationship with a girl. That's always been my emphasis, not to destroy guys. I mean, even though we posted the Tumblr of all these guys getting made fun of by women on the internet, we don't post that to humiliate them because it's already posted on the internet, so that doesn't really matter. We're posting it to show these examples to guys themselves when they come here, because I know guys are going to come here and read that and go, fuck, that's me, I'm a nice guy. I mean, even if a guy saw his own profile, that would be great because he'd be humiliated enough to go, fuck, all this time I thought I was a nice guy, and these girls are posting me on this public Tumblr just to humiliate me. So even though we may sound harsh, like we're employing ad hominem attacks, etc., we really are here to change guys' minds and opinions about the emasculated way they deal with women. And so they don't end up heartbroken like you with at least 3 heartbreaks, maybe 4. Possibly 7.